I feel like a lot of
There's some whores in this. There's some whores.
A lot of the music, you know, a lot of the early AI shit or early like digital voices that people made, which just existed in a different context. And now that like the way AI has evolved, it kind of makes all that retroactive stuff bad. You know what I mean? It makes it like it gives it a negative context. It no longer is as fun because you're just like, ugh. They're actually destroying the planet. They're destroying our politics for this slop. Like when it was first there, it was novel and funny, but now it's just like not. It's just not. It doesn't hit. So even though this stuff was added years ago, it's been so perverted that it takes the fun out of it, and it almost feels like a political statement to keep it on. Even though I love Hassan and I want him to sing "Red Sun in the Sky," I just feel like I need to take. I can't have that shit on there. And like as far as AI in general, let me hop on cam here because I feel like this is a good thing to start on. Hold on, let me start this. Okay, that's not what we wanted. Hold on, we're capturing the wrong screen. Happens. There we go. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing today? What a day, chat. So what are we having? Okay, before we get to discussing the AI, let's discuss what we're talking about. David Pakman. Pakman. Okay, hold on.
Is that right? Hey, let's see. Who's streaming from the people that I follow? I really want Pokimane to raid the channel. It looks like she is streaming. Let's just see what's going on over there.
Okay, sorry, chat. I'll get into ranting about David Pakman in a second. Do you think there is one more behind the bag that flew out of the White House window due to Trump saying it was AI? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You might accidentally show us your tax folder. Oh no, you want to see all the money I'm paying? Because I always do my taxes like a moron. Okay. We are having Taylor Lorenz on at 10 a.m. We're having Taylor Lorenz to talk about the Wired article and David Pakman at 10 a.m. So Taylor's going to be on. We are going to be talking about David Pakman basically declaring war on the left. You know, oh, we exposed that you're taking money under the table. Well, now he declares war on the left. Interesting. Who could have predicted that? There's a new video from Intercept about how LA is defending itself from ICE, the people on the streets. I really am interested in that video. And talking about why you should join a union. And why Bada Panada has officially crashed out and he's doing pseudo-intellectualizing of it. This is the worst thing that can happen. And it happens with people that are narcissistic, which is they have a take. It's a spicy take. It's not that well thought out. And then they start Googling. They start Googling to justify their bad take. And listen, if you're talking about the American left, there is a lot to criticize over the years. If you're talking about the American trade union movement, there's a lot to criticize over the years. And every leftist knows this. And if you're new to learning about this stuff, I'm happy to talk to you about it, right? And then there gets to the point where a person is just, they amount to a wrecker. And this is why I don't like Trotskyites. Trots, you know, this is why I don't like ultras. Because they just start in these masturbatory spaces where everything is about posturing how they're more holier than thou, and then there's no actual material connection to the working class, to the movements that we need to build, toward any kind of material gains, toward any kind of progress. It just becomes I'm going to justify this intellectual position by grasping at straws. And that's what's happening with Bada Panada, is narcissistically, he was criticized, and instead of saying like, yeah, you know, I was memeing when I said unlimited genocide on the first world, he's now going to try to intellectualize it and become basically fucking useless. And that's unfortunate. Do I consider BE an ultra? No. Ultras actually form organizations. I consider Bada Panada to be a hermit. A hermit is somebody who doesn't participate in society at all and just stands back because of maybe a personality disorder, maybe because of some other, trauma. They're not even really a gadfly, because gadflies are participating in society somewhat. They're trying to criticize society and expose its flaws. I just think of him more as a hermit. He's a useless trot screaming, read my pamphlet. I mean, basically. And last but not least, I do want to talk more about the main guy, because I think yesterday, one of the things that's tough about being a streamer like myself is everybody that's in the chat has a different level of knowledge, right? Like everybody in the chat has a different level of knowledge, right? I have been opposed to and studying Blackwater for decades now, right? I understand exactly how, you know, PMCs and private contractors have penetrated the American foreign policy apparatus, right? I understand the nature, you know, the gray line between black ops, covert ops, special ops, and contractors, and how the CIA and our intelligence services and our military operate within that gray area. And I think one of the things with the main Senate candidate is he took a job with the State Department as a contractor. Now, I'm not sure he's talked about that fully in detail yet. But what I do know is that for at least 20 years, the State Department has hired private military contractors as bodyguards for diplomats. And while I consider working for a private military contractor to be sus as fuck, it depends upon what job the guy did and what they say about it now. Now, my fundamental, here's kind of the calculation that I have to make. Some people have a sort of like Red Guard adjacent strategy of, I'm going to look into everybody's biography, and if I can find one thing that makes you suspect of that person, then I'm going to assume the worst possible thing that could result from that bad detail, right? You know what I mean? Like that is like kind of a Red Guard at the peak of the you know, the revolution in China going, you used to be related to someone who is a landlord? Suspect, you're fired. Like, versus I actually found you doing something specifically now that means that you're betraying the movement, right? So these are a different kind of idea. So like, I have no problem with people investigating people and going, okay, this is a red flag. What does a red flag mean? A red flag does not mean that the person is guilty. It means we need to stop and investigate this. It doesn't mean we need to throw people away. And this is one of the things that's really frustrating for me, is because we don't have any we don't have anybody in the Senate who's saying that what Israel is doing is a genocide. I don't believe anybody has said that. Has any U.S. senator said it's a genocide? Bernie Sanders has it, as far as I know. Is there any senator who's called it a genocide? I know. So basically, this guy is running to be. Has Von Hollen called it a genocide? AOC is not in the Senate. She's in the House. He said they're complicit in the starvation of the people of Gaza, but I don't believe he's called it a genocide. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here. I am not saying that we should ignore the red flags. I'm saying we should investigate the red flags, but a lot of people are not. Like, I want to know more. If he was a bodyguard for a diplomat and he quit after 9 months because he thought that contractors were robbing the fucking, robbing the country and doing evil shit, that's different than he was involved in selling heroin. You know what I mean? Like illegally transporting heroin or doing death squads and shit. Okay? Like, those are different things. And he has come out and spoken aggressively against what we're doing in our foreign policy. Now, he might have other things in his foreign policy that I disagree with, that I think suck. But this is the problem with electoral politics, is I think a lot of people are not recognizing how dangerous things are right now. I think they're in la la land. I think they're in la la land. Like, Donald Trump wants to kill us, right? Like, and a lot of people who are posturing as ultras right now will completely delete their entire social media, all their shit, and they will go into compliance mode. They'll go from, we shouldn't do anything electorally, to when the fascists complete their takeover, into full compliance mode, delete all social media, shut the fuck up from all time. So I need you to lock the fuck in. I need you to lock the fuck in and recognize that we're in an incredibly dangerous period. And that is what I'm arguing for. Now, if this guy can beat Susan Collins as an anti-Israel candidate in the United States Senate, if he's actually a decent guy, which again, we haven't concluded anything yet. Okay, well, no one's concluded anything yet. What we've seen is he's come out, he's stood with people, he said it's a genocide in Gaza, he said we stop giving weapons to Israel. That's the number one issue. That's the number one issue that I vote on. I am the number one thing is, does this person want to stop the genocide in Gaza? It isn't like other issues. And it just so happens that he's way better than almost every other senator on every other issue. Now, there's stuff I disagree with because I'm a fucking far leftist. But that is the thing that I am focused on, is making sure. It's why I support Zoran. I support Zoran not because he has the same policies that I have, but because he ran as an anti-genocide candidate. I am a single issue voter on the anti-genocide shit. It's why I yelled at AOC for not voting for the amendment written by fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene to strip weapons, because that is the number one issue. Yeah, the fact that he has a sussy background, I want to learn more. I haven't formally endorsed the guy. I heard about him the same time as you guys, you know, and I am looking into it. But I just point blank don't agree with people who think veterans should be excluded from the left. I don't agree with you. I think you're wrong. Period. If you're an active duty cop, you should be, or a pro cop person, you should be excluded. But a veteran, you're insane. If you're a Zionist, you should be excluded. Current Zionist. Not if you used to be and you changed your mind, you should be invited in. Like, this is my position. And by the way, if you disagree with this, I kind of don't think you should be here, because we fundamentally just cannot reconcile. We can't reconcile. If you believe the left should be an inquisitorial faction that goes around and tries to cancel people for their past positions that they no longer agree with, that they're no longer advocating for, then you're fucking useless. I'm not saying these people need to be moved to the front of the line, but the reason why this guy is being moved to the front of the line is because he actually ran. Do you have somebody else in Maine running on the left for this Senate seat? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Is I'm not trying to say that this guy is good and I want to ignore this shit. I don't want to ignore this. I want him to be better on this. I want him to come out and say these contractors we should get rid of these contractors. That's what I want him to say. So I think asking him questions about it, investigating it, is totally normal. But what he's saying now is better than every other Senate candidate in the entire country. And so if your instinct is to be like, I want to trash this guy without knowing all the facts, to try to posture myself as the most woke and aware person, that's crazy. I grew up on a left that used to celebrate Pat Tillman. Pat Tillman was an active duty soldier who was fragged or was killed in friendly fire. And people suspect it's because he started to come out and speak out against what we were doing in our war and the war against terror. And that Pat Tillman was fragged and murdered by his fellow soldiers was a major radicalization point for people. Like, this is like, it's weird. It's weird because we have a clash of generations happening. We have a generation of people who have grown up in politics, and the Bernie Sanders left has always been there. And I want you to understand something right now, that the so-called left in America is weak. Just because you found spaces online like this one, where we assume the left-wing arguments are correct, where we make the left-wing arguments, where we create spaces where transphobia and racism and sexism and xenophobia and American exceptionalism are not favored and in fact hated, doesn't mean we've won. This is a bubble of safety, a bubble of activism, a bubble of education, but it is not the political hegemonic belief system. We are in a minority. Do these freaks want Janet Mills or Susan Collins to win? I think these people legitimately don't care about the American state. And I think they are dead fucking wrong. And they are dangerously wrong. Donald Trump is a fascist. Donald Trump will kill Americans if he can get away with it. You need to wake the fuck up. I'm not trying to be a lib here. I'm trying to get you to wake the fuck up. This guy is a fascist fuck. He will murder people. He will violate the law. He will do whatever and he's doing it. He's disappearing people. And the American state, we have to get checks on him, even if it means libs are doing it. We need some checks on Donald Trump for our own safety. You're fucking insane if you think we could resist the American state on your own. And this is what I'm really worried about. I feel like a lot of people are being led down a primrose path of rad lib bullshit where they're not even attempting to come up with a coherent political movement. It is starting to scare me on how stupid people are getting. And I think it has to do with trauma. I think it has to do with trauma. I think a lot of people are traumatized and a lot of people are frustrated of how powerless we are. And so they're starting to eat their own because they don't have an outlet for this rage. I get it, man. Both left and right are contrived dynamics created by those controlling us all. That would be wrong. Unless you mean left, you mean Democrat. If by left you mean Democrat, then yes, the Democratic Party is controlled opposition. If by left you mean two-party politics, then yes, you are right. But if you mean the left as in organizing on class-based politics, then you're an idiot. Because there's only two types of people in this world. Those that own and those that don't. Those that work and those that don't. That is the division. People got burned by Fetterman and are now afraid to be betrayed, except Fetterman burned us on Israel. And Fetterman was not saying good shit on Israel. It was just not a relevant issue, so people overlooked it. A lot of us did, me included. We thought, well, he won't be great on Israel. He'll be like one of the better people on Israel, and he'll like want to do a two-state solution, J Street, bi-nationalist, liberal Zionism. We thought it was, that was bad to overlook. It really was. But it felt like he was going to be like Bernie Sanders, which is treat Palestinians like their people. Maybe he won't have a one-state solutioner like me, but we didn't think that he was going to be the biggest AIPAC shill. He lied. He lied to us. He betrayed us. This guy is campaigning on standing up to Israel. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. People should also understand the main Dems are much further left than national. There is internal division going on that is playing out with various campaigns. More centrist candidates are being pushed by the Chuck of the DCCC, not the state party. Yeah, I know, of course. I think one of the things about this space is I think it is incredibly wrong to abandon the frontier of electoral politics. And the evidence I have is every single person telling you to abandon electoral politics talks about electoral politics every day. If electoral politics is not where people are, then the people would be talking about electoral politics every fucking day. We talk about it because that's where the interest of the masses are. That's where the algorithms are. And I am doing that intentionally. I am talking about these issues intentionally because I know that they do actually matter. Basic voter pressure, swing state Democrat swears off AIPAC cash. Rep. Deborah Ross became the latest Democrat to swear off AIPAC amid pressure to hold Israel accountable for the genocide in Gaza. This is the stuff that we did, chat. It's been slow. It's been grinding. But the spaces online that are anti-Israel, that are pro-Palestine, that are fighting against the genocide, we are changing the conventional wisdom, especially among left-leaning people. We are doing it. Politics takes a long time. It's a grinding process. It is slow, but we have done more to undermine Israel's support than has been done in a century over the past 2 years. That doesn't make me feel any better. It doesn't make me feel any better because Palestinians are facing starvation. We've got to get them food. What are you doing? This isn't hypothetical. This isn't intellectual. This is fucking real. And the best way to scare these politicians is to have candidates that are pro-Israel. Now, I hope this guy, the skeletons in this guy's closet aren't horrible, even more so than we already know. And yes, I want to know more. But please do not confuse your nihilism and your depressive personality with politics. I meant pro-Palestine. Sorry, chat. Pro-Palestine. Candidates that are pro-Palestine and anti-Israel. Did I say anti-Palestine? Sorry. I misspoke. Thank you for correcting me. This is the thing. This is the thing. Like, all of us have skeletons in our closet. All of us had bad takes. And there is this new political argument that people are having about these issues. And I just think these people can't be accepted into our spaces. If you think that people should be excluded based on race, you should not be accepted into these spaces. If you think people should be excluded because they used to have bad opinions that they've sworn off, you should be excluded. the paradox of intolerance. If you're intolerant, if you're not willing to accept redemption and rehabilitation in any fashion, then you should be excluded. Have you seen at least one instance where these max left radlibs have promised an alternative candidate, a plan, something? Their candidate, their proposed candidate is, well, they used to say organize a union, but I guess Bad and Panada says don't join a union. So I guess we're not doing that now. I'm not really sure. I mean, I do think you should get on the streets. I'm not saying that's bad. For the heroes that confront ICE, I'm not saying they're wrong. In fact, that's good. The heroes that are putting their lives on the line and their bodies and their treasure and the Palestinian Americans in prison in Israel. We need to be giving these people more visibility.
This is a city not of socialism.
No.
I've been to socialist countries. This is a city where you could come as a dishwasher and you can own a chain of restaurants.
These are directly from their charter. Defund the police, cut budgets annually toward...
By the way, listen, I get it. I understand. I understand people that are in countries that have been militarily oppressed by the United States, hating veterans. I am not saying that's not normal and rational behavior from them. I'm talking about, what do Americans do? And if you have a veteran who's going up there and saying, I loved killing people, which is what 99% of Americans say, including Americans in the Democratic Party, those people fucking suck. But if you have somebody saying we need to bring the troops home, stop giving bombs to Gaza, and if he's convincing Americans to do it by promising them health care, that's a good thing. If convincing Americans to stop imperialism involves them also getting something they need like health care, I'm all for using that argument. Andy Bashir got a podcast deal and his podcast didn't crack 500 views. Jesus Christ. I think one of the things that I really need to start saying is that there are people that are hanging around my and Hassan's stream that are not socialists. And I am going to start saying, if I see you in non-socialist streams that do nothing but attack me and Hassan, I'm going to start removing you from my community. I just want you to know that. If a person is a socialist and they criticize me, that's fine. But if you are a non-socialist who spends all your time criticizing me and Hassan, and you're hanging out in Hutch's chat all the time, telling Hutch how smart he is, I'm going to ban you. Because these guys are fucking evil pieces of shit. And they don't make arguments. I don't want libs and radlibs hanging around trying to fucking cancel us and bringing in fans of ours under the pretense that they agree with us. They don't agree with shit. Good luck, because no one has ever said Hutch is right. Hutch isn't the only one. Mike, have you watched the union video yet? No, but I will. Jeremy Corbyn is to the right of most of DSA. I don't think that this motherfucker knows anything about DSA. Bad and Panada doesn't know anything about DSA. He doesn't care to know. Maybe he saw some of the people that are the most right wing in DSA on Twitter.
First world
let's watch this.
countries.
You should. We're going to refute this dumb fucking video. He's stupid, by the way. We're gonna watch this video real. Oh, it's 31 minutes. Oh, fuck this shit. I didn't realize it was 31 fucking minutes. I'm not doing this today, chat. We're gonna have Taylor Lorenz on later. I don't want to do this right now. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. I didn't realize it was 31 minutes. No, I'm not doing that. This is like, give me a fucking break. We have Taylor Lorenz on it at 10. So he actually has a very deliberate pattern. Post bait on Twitter, waits for someone to respond, checks if they watch Hassan, then use that to attack Hassan through them as if they are representative of his politics. Yeah, that's exactly what Destiny did, by the way. This is actually the Destiny pattern. Adepanada is just doing the Destiny pattern, actually, which is post some dumb fucking position on Twitter, get yelled at for your dumb position, and then make some long video walking it back and trying to find some nuanced take. This is legitimately Destiny's strategy. And then when everybody makes fun of you for your bad Twitter take, you get your followers to actually post your video, go, actually, this is what he really meant. And it's some sort of significant backtrack from what you said before. And I'm sorry, but, and I see this happen all the time. People attack me, and most of the time when I find out somebody doesn't like me, they're an ex-DGGer. There is a relatively large streamer who pretends to be a Hassan Orbiter, who is a DGGer still to this day. And I thought they had put that in their past. And so I had let it go. Ooh, I'll tell you guys soon. I'll tell you guys soon. But some of these people have my name in their mouth so much that I was like, why the fuck do these people hate me? They never come into my chat. Why are they making streams about me every day? They never come into my chat. And there was this group of people that were like psychotic DGG orbiters streamers. And then they kind of molded themselves into Hassad orbiters. After I blew up and Denims blew up, they started molding themselves into Hassan orbiters. And they like copied our entire flow. But they've been like attacking me and Denims pretty consistently, attacking Caroline, attacking pretty much, you know, Austin, attacking all the people that are friends with Hassan and kind of hanging back. You know, they refuse to attack Hassan himself, but they attack every one of his friends and colleagues. And all of these people are ex-DGGers. And so it was like, oh, what the fuck is this? And they don't consider themselves socialist, by the way. They never call themselves socialist. So there is a group of people, and unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with it. Fucking scumbag. Did you see some leftist streamers attack Asta because they say he's racist? Basically, there is a DGG faction in the Hassan Orbit community where they have repackaged themselves as not DGG, when in reality, they were trashing all of us. I mean, anyway, I just want to say that's a reality. And just because someone is superficially kind to Hassan now, you should not trust them.
And that is, they wanted a slur.
Call all the droids clankers, and
Dude, it's so fucking funny. It's so fucking funny. Like they'll call like a toaster a clanker or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just so funny. I'm glad we can make fun of that. Like I'm glad we can make fun of these fucking bolt pickers. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those. You know what I'm saying? It's like we can finally start.
I covered this exact video and I covered this exact topic. What was it, yesterday or the day before? But we can watch a Sean clip.
Or anything like no. It's fine though, because it's not the actual word. It's not the actual word. You know what I'm saying? Like people who know what it is can like wink at each other and go, haha, bolt picker, haha. But like, it's finally the one word that we're allowed to like, you know, like say without having like an actual, like getting, you know, I'm not like a big like, cancel culture, but whatever. But like, I'm not like we can finally like comfortably say stuff without having to worry about like getting canceled to a degree. Like I can say clanker and put like hard R at the end as if it's like some thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like within the
literally already you gave me a clip of watching a TikTok. I'm sure his take is good, but come on, I can't just like. Can't watch a clip of him watching a clip. Come on. It started as a derogatory term in Star Wars against the battle droids, but it was easy to co-opt. Oh, it's been completely co-opted by racists. It's been completely co-opted. We did a whole segment on it. Actually, maybe we should publish that. And the thing is, like, I never thought the N-word was funny. And when I was growing up, I want to be completely honest. Maybe where I grew up in Pennsylvania was weird, but we just did not use the N-word ever. Maybe the, like, Pennsylvania... like where I went to high school was weird, but people did not use racial slurs like at all. And this is before Xbox Live, by the way. Before there wasn't like when I was in high school, there was no Xbox Live. I want that to sink in. Okay. So we just did not use the N-word, period. And my parents never used it. My parents were super against any of that kind of shit. If I had said the N-word, my dad would have clocked me in the face with a full-blown punch. Like, there's no fucking... So, like, whatever people are like, oh, my racist era, I'm like, what? What era? Now, I'll tell you what people did say. People were very homophobic. They would say, like, the F slur, or that you were gay, as if that was bad. That's what people would do. But, honestly, it wasn't... I mean, maybe just my high school was weird. We had a few kids who were gay, and nobody like beat them up over it or anything. It wasn't like they used those slurs, and it was definitely accepted to say that. The bigotry, the intensity of bigotry was just not there. Like racial slurs, man, that is an internet thing. I think the internet actually revived it. I think the internet actually helped spread the acceptability among young white people to use racial slurs for jokes. Because I could tell you right now, it didn't exist before before Xbox Live, at least not in my spaces. And I grew up a lot of places. I lived all over the world. And I can tell you, I don't remember people using the N-word around me ever as if it was socially acceptable. I legitimately think that like the internet kind of spread some of the acceptability of like a southern white racist culture on places like Xbox Live for shock value. And maybe it was a reaction to how millennials were so precious over racism. Like we were raised in this kind of like kumbaya multiculturalism elementary school that really focused on diversity and inclusion. And maybe we are experiencing a reaction to that. Like Gen Z is reacting to their millennial parents or something. I don't know what's going on, man, but it's weird. I definitely knew kids in middle school who used random slurs because of edgy joke books, and this was pre-Xbox, early 2000s. How early? I think Xbox Live started in 2002. And did or was it 2004? Oh my God, I'm so good at this. According to AI, it started on November 15th, 2002. Chat, I was in college. Also, I think the era of words are just words, so online I would suck it up. I don't know, man. Oh, okay, Jules, can you link me that again? Can you link me it with a better timestamp? Thank you. I want to give Sean credit for his sources. 2002 to 04 was the only clean era of Xbox Live because 04 is when Halo 2 came out, and it brought it with the ubiquity of headset microphones. 4chan brain that started using slurs in 2003. When did 4chan start? I want to say that was like 2003. But then it wasn't popular then. It was not popular then. I'd say it really started blowing up a year or two after that. I've mentioned this before, but around 2010, I came back from college one year in summer, and all my white guy buddies who were saying N-word hard R. I was the only black dude in the group, so I corrected that shit. Yeah, see what I mean? Like, I honest to God think gaming like revive the use of the N-word. And I don't say this to be like, oh, Mike from PA is so good, he's such a good guy, he never used the N-word. It's just like, it wasn't. Can you give me the fucking link? Stop telling me the timestamp. The next person that posts the timestamp without a link is getting a 24-hour timeout.
Ali wasn't a part of Chorus initially, and then had concerns about being included in these pitch decks. And so in order to sate her, Chorus offered her a inclusion in the program at the highest tier, right? At the $8,000 a month tier, in order to like essentially bribe her into like not having problems. And as we know now, is a part of the program. To be honest, this is Ali. That's what I've heard. This is the person who made like the 10-minute video debunking. Yes, he made the video debunking every part of the article that confirms it, essentially. She's who like Hutch has been using to be like, oh, why are they including progressive anti-democrat voices into this program if they're supposedly anti-democrat, right? The answer is Chorus bribed her to be a part of the program after they were using her image without her consent.
Oh my God.
Is what my source says.
Okay, well, I mean, damn, Sean DeBlack is standing 10 toes down on the reliability of this source. Now, I just want to say, chat, that I don't have any direct sources. I'm just watching this clip from Sean. I don't know any of the facts myself. I can't verify it. Unfortunately, like, here's the thing about journalism. I think a lot of influencers who talk about politics a lot start thinking of themselves as the equivalent of somebody like Taylor Lorenz. And we're not. And the reason why we're not is because Taylor Lorenz doesn't just say shit, right? I mean, she might just say shit on her social media posts, but when she publishes an article, say in Wired, for example, Taylor Lorenz has her information checked according to journalistic standards by editors who are going to defend her if the article gets sued for defamation. Wired is going to defend it in court with their money and their lawyers. So to make sure that what they're saying is verified, they have sourcing, they have objective standards, they have editors, they have people going over every word in the article and checking it and double checking it. And this is very, very important. Is when Taylor Lorenz says, my sources say this, or the contract says this, that means that Wired editors have looked at the sources. They know who the source is. They've looked at the contract. Their lawyers have looked at the contract, and they're saying, this is what it says, and we're going to characterize it, and we're going to stand behind it, and we'll And if we get sued for defamation, we will show the party suing us in defamation, and the contract itself will go into discovery. So they're not going to get sued, because if they actually sued Wired, the contract would come out and it would prove that what Taylor is saying is true. Now, when influencers say shit, they're just speaking for themselves. None of the platforms are standing behind them. No, Twitch is not going to pay for a lawsuit if I get sued for defamation. And I don't have an editor that is editing what I say as it comes out of my mouth. I'm my editor. I am my producer. If I do journalism, I'm the one whose ass is on the line. Okay? And so what Sean is doing here is he is doing citizen journalism, in the sense that he is making an assertion of fact. He is saying she was bribed in order to say this. She wasn't part of the program. They approached her. They gave her money. And now she's a part of the program to cover up, to do damage control for them. So Sean is convinced that his source is reliable, that his source would hold up in court. That is journalism. That is journalism. Now, I don't have access to Sean's source. I can't tell you if Sean's source is legitimate or not. All I can do is say, listen, I trust Sean as a good person. I trust Sean as an honest actor. I believe he's done his due diligence. That being said, I can't independently verify this information, right? I can't independently verify this information. And so you have to exercise your judgment about whether or not you think these assertions of fact are true or not. And let me say, it seems highly credible to me. Because when you look at the creators in this program, they're all anti-leftists. They're all people who are Zionists. They're all people who don't speak out much on Gaza. There's one or two exceptions.
So, yeah, Touch, that's the reason why. Is your source reliable? Very, extremely reliable.
Said that the company must have just taken an image of her off social media. She said, quote, I did not even know that I was on this web. I am not financially tied to them at all. V-Sphere, known as Under the Desk News, who has over 3.6 million followers on TikTok.
My source is somebody who's talked to Ali's.
Me, quote, I'm not in any collective at all. That's my problem with the way it went down. I don't think anyone should be pitching me other than me. What we need is for people to invest in independent media, and that doesn't necessarily mean investing in a consulting group that is going to become a middleman for independent media. Chorus's effort to act as a bridge between creators and political leaders ruffled the feathers of influencer management companies and talent agencies as well, whose job it is to negotiate opportunities for their talent. Representatives for big-name creators told me that they felt like Chorus was luring their clients with promises of access to political leaders. Quote, then they go to a bunch of donors who don't know anything about the creator space except that we need a left-wing Joe Rogan, and they raise money from them. These are dollars that belong to the creators, the marketer said. Another representative at a major Hollywood agency who asked to remain anonymous told me that Chorus, quote, has no respect for how the entertainment industry works. They think they're smarter than the agents and the agencies. You can get away with that in the short term, but they're going to get the party blackballed. There are only so many times that agents will allow some middleman to take ad dollars from our entertainers before they're like, F these people. And they're getting very close to that. After I reached out to Chorus for comment about all of this back in April, Chorus sent an email blast out to the creators in their network reading, quote, some reporters are reaching out to creators about Chorus, and it seems with not great intentions. To me, this set off immediate red flags. As a journalist, anytime you reach out for comment about something and the company or organization immediately starts smearing you, especially when they're bad-mouthing you to people who have nothing to do with the story, claiming that you have not great intentions, you know that there's more to that story.
Okay, sorry, chat. So I want to commend Sean for this original piece of journalism. And I want to ask Taylor about this. This is pretty ballsy. And I think he's right. It seems to me that he's right. This is very, and can I just say one thing about this in particular, which is I think it's very, 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 very clear that the intentions of this organization are incredibly bad because of the way they reacted to this information coming out. I think it's very clear that the people allied with this organization are hostile to the left, that they have bad intentions, and that they are an organization and creators that we need to oppose, and that these are our enemies. And the reason why I say that is, if they had come out and been like, yes, this program exists, we made a mistake in not disclosing it, that was wrong, we are going to disclose who our donors are, we're going to disclose what our policy positions are, we're going to be transparent with you about this program, We're going to increase the diversity of the creators that we support. If they had done that, then people would have been like, oh, okay, thank you for responding to the criticism. And they still would have been suspect, but they could have pulled it off. But in fact, they've done the opposite, is they've tried to attack the credibility and the platforms of everybody who talked about this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, proves to me that these people are malicious and they are bad and we need to oppose them.
So much to unpack here. So David Pakman was whining on us of some of the criticism he's gotten for this whole dark money scandal. And he's like, I just feel like we're not on the same side. I mean, Harry Sisson.
The left wing Joe Rogan is Hassan. That's it. You will not find another one. These people just don't like it. That's why they're looking for someone else. Waste of money. Just listen to him. The reason why, that's exactly right. This is an intra-party squabble. Okay? This guy was at H3 Lib 2 years ago. Oh, who gives a fuck about Star Radio? I mean, like, people, here's what I'm going to tell you, chat. I'm going to explain something to you all very, very simply and very straightforwardly. If you come after me and Hassan, it's not going to work out for you. If you come after me and Hassan, it's not going to work out for you. I don't know what else to say. You're going to have a bad time. Do you know how many creators have tried to attack me over the years? Do you have any idea how many people have come after me and especially Hassan over the years? I want you to know one of the main people I was fighting with. I want to show you what just happened.
I'm going to be gone for a while, guys. And I want to let you know, if any of you guys think it's because of me streaming or me being stressed because the YouTube's, upload schedule, it's not. I love content creation. I do. It's just the culture that I have a problem with. But if you're just here to know this, no, I'm not coming back yet. No, I'm not going to be back for a while. And yes, I miss you because I love you. No, I miss making content for you guys. I really do. And I will say, expect a couple YouTube uploads, maybe like one a week. I'll just be talking to you guys about whatever comes into my mind, maybe more. But I needed to get away for a while. I really did. In case you're wondering why, there are evil people on this earth that are currently making my life fucking miserable.
Okay, I want you to understand something, that this guy defines evil as not liking him. To him, that is what evil is. This guy is accused of sexual assault. He sexually harasses people. His father is a convicted sex criminal, and he brought him on his stream multiple times to harass other content creators. He supports fascism. He supports transphobia. He supports racism. He screamed slurs on his stream the other day while telling an audience member to kill themselves when they pushed back. This guy thinks being evil is being opposed to him.
Even more than you guys know, it is deeply personal shit that I'm having to deal with right now. And a lot of it, and I'm not going to go into this too much, but there's a lot of very dangerous things happening in my life right now that I'm just trying to take care of and take care of the people around me, the people who I love. And I'll probably talk about that later. But when I do come back, I'll post about it on Twitter. I'll post about it on YouTube. And just thank you guys for staying subscribed. And thank you guys for liking my videos. And I look forward to coming back to content creation for you guys. But once again, it's just not going to be for a while.
And I just want to say this, and I want to say it at the camera. I'm behind it all. I'm behind it all. It's not happening because of me, but on every avenue that I have supported what's going on. The anti-bot programs, other issues, I'm behind them all. I'm not taking credit for him quitting. He's quitting because he's actually an evil piece of shit, and consequences are starting to happen. Not that I did it, it's that I have just been lending critical and important support. Like, the thing is, over the years, there's been a lot of content creators that have attacked me. I honestly would love to go through the list with all of you, but the reality is that if I mention some of these people, it will be the best day of their life. Do you know how difficult it is to be me? Because, like, when I mention all the people that have come after me, some of them are still around, but for the most part, they're not. Or they're still struggling. They're barely hanging on. If I actually went through this list, it would create so much content for these people. It might even get them, like, it might give them a little bit of, like, dopamine because they got noticed. What percentage of your and Hassan's ops are sex criminals? It's crazy how it keeps happening. I wouldn't say it's 100% because you should never say 100% for a question like that. But even the people that are on the left that don't like me tend to have some sort of weird sex harassment thing as well. I think that like sex criminals really hate me and Hassan because we're normal. Like they really hate that we're normal around women. And they know that we don't tolerate bad behavior toward women. And they want a old boys club. They want a bunch of guys that are going to help them cover up their shit. So when they see a man who doesn't tolerate it, they hate that shit. Remember when for weeks he went on vague screeds about have something up his sleeve hinting at suing Hassan or something, and now he's just quitting? What a joke. Yeah.
Backs up David Pakman sent to Black Pill Left, as nicknamed by Hutch, that...
And by the way, David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen were very close friends of Destiny up until the revenge porn shit came out. So like into November of last year, David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen were all over Destiny. So if you're talking about like evil pieces of shit that are suspect as fuck, these two are the most suspect creators on the left, period. How the fuck are you okay with Destiny, man? He said that they should mow down Black Lives Matter protesters. He said he supported genocide in Gaza. He went to Israel and told IDF soldiers that when they commit war crimes to not post the videos online.
I guess YouTuber who looks like Dr. is no longer part of the broader movement, huh? I've got news for you. You don't have a movement. You have dark money groups and consulting firms, but you don't got a movement. Isn't it funny that genocide and disclosure was what made him go like, I don't know if we're on the same team. That Zico and Sanchez woman who was doing the Unfuck America. I'm glad that liberals are finally starting to fight back because the leftists are out of control. So you got
Unfuck America tour is basically a Destiny promotion. It's a Destiny debate promotion vehicle. That's what Unfuck America is. It is, we're going to take Destiny around to college campuses to debate people. That's what it is.
that, fam. Being black-pilled, apparently, being able to criticize the Democratic Party, thinking disclosures, and not ignoring the Holocaust. It's like, you guys want to talk about the Holocaust happening in Gaza? Always purity testing with you people. Do you guys even oppose anything the Republicans and Trump are doing? Because you seem to have a lot more anger for the left than the right. Fighting Trump and the Republicans doesn't mean giving a constant tongue bath to the Democratic Party. Without the energy of people on the left, you don't have any. There is not a market for what you guys are selling. Because the people, the MSNBC wine moms who love Harry Sisson, already buy the bullshit.
By the way, those wine moms are fucking to the left of Harry. That's the thing that's funny, is the MSNBC is better than these guys. Like, if you're watching MSNBC, except for Morning Joe, which is just irredeemably bad, if you're watching MSNBC on the weekend, it's better than these guys. These guys are to the right of MSNBC. They're a fucking joke. That's why only 7% of Democrats support Israel now. These guys represent no one. All they represent are fucking careerists, social climbing sociopaths who are trying to get picked by the establishment to be juiced because they have no talent and nothing to say. And they're going to trade on access journalism. People are parasocial for politicians. They're going to bring those politicians on their fucking streams. And then a bunch of people who want to see those politicians follow them. And that's their fucking plan.
Already on your team. You're not needing to convince. Who are you guys convincing? You guys are not convincing anyone new. I know you're always trying.
Showed my wine mom the I've Had It episode with Assad. She fucking loved it. Yes. This is why, like, I really, like, it sucks, man. This is the part of politics that sucks the most. This always happens. The Democrats eat shit. They lose horribly. Then everybody kind of checks out of politics for a while, except for the most annoying parasocial rad lib types. They create these mental bubbles that are just completely irrelevant to regular people. And then around the time of the midterms next year, regular people start getting involved in politics again. The presidential campaigns start. And then we have these fucking, and then, you know, millions more people get engaged. And we have all of the like systems that were set up by these disgusting rad libs, and they're just blocking progress, handcuffing our ability to organize, and taking up all these left-wing spaces with their fucking bullshit. It's so fucking annoying, man.
trying to appeal to the right. You're always trying to get that white woman in the suburbs, that Republican. Leaving her metaphorical never does. So I don't know who this is for, because all of
Thank you, Jules.
Democratic Party dick riders, all you guys are doing is preaching to the choir, to resistance libs who already agree with you and who like the orange man drum slop. It's kind of funny that all it took was people saying, hey, David Pakman, can you stop ignoring the genocide and maybe be transparent, and disclose when you get funding, for him to do his why I left the left bit. You guys, I'm laughing because it's so absurd. These people have literally zero principles. And not just zero principles, they seem to have zero fucking self-awareness. Like, what even is this? That same Z woman yesterday was to Taylor Lorenz was like, bitch. He's taking a page from the Democrats' consultants where they go, hey, if you start cussing, people think you're relatable. You guys notice after the
No, that's just a misogynistic slur.
the loss, all they did was go, hey, what if we said shit and fuck every once in a while? Like, fighting back against what? Disclosure? Homegirl did a whole ass video being like, what even is dark money? You guys just throw terms around. Sure, we can play dumb. Dark money just means that you don't know the source of it. And then she's like, the left doesn't want to fight MAGA or win election. No, the reason why the left doesn't.
I mean, this is a term that is so commonly used, it has a Wikipedia entry. Dark money in politics, particularly the politics of the United States, dark money refers to spending to influence elections, public policy, and political discourse, where the source of the money is not disclosed to the public. In the United States, many subtypes of nonprofit organizations may spend money on their campaigns without disclosing who their donors are. The most common type of dark money group is a 501c4, often called social welfare organizations. Such organizations could receive unlimited donations from corporations, individuals, and unions. Proponents of dark money maintain that it is protected under the First Amendment, while critics complain recipients of dark money, as with any contribution, are beholden to their funders, while voters are kept in the dark about connections between donor and politician when favors are paid back. Dark money entered the politics of the United States with Buckley v. Vallejo in 1976. When the United States Supreme Court laid out 8 magic words that define the difference between electioneering and issue advocacy, exempting the latter from election finance laws. Dark campaign spending increased from $5.2 million in 2006 to $300 million in the 2012 presidential cycle, and more than $1 billion in 2020. As of 2022, the nonprofit Open Secret states that dark money is pouring into U.S. elections, but not only are its donors not being disclosed, the total quantity of dark money isn't either. The vast majority of what is being spent is not being disclosed to the Federal Election Commission. And this is basic shit. When I say dark money, this is something you learn about in high school if you take a political science course. I don't know how this is kind of the problem with political influencers, is that so many of the people that have politics streams do not know anything about politics. I think I might put together a test. I think I might put together a test, like a poli-sci 101 test that I give to every streamer I meet who does politics. And I'll say, take this test. I want you to answer this test. 50 questions, multiple choice. I think I might actually do that. And then I'll grade it on stream. And only people who get a B or above will be recommended by me. I'm dead fucking serious. Because these people don't know anything! And I can't support them just because they think Medicare for all is a good idea or something. Just because you intuitively think Medicare for all is a good idea doesn't mean you know what you're talking about.
Like you guys is because you don't fight MAGA and you love losing elections. Then again, this is the same genius who went on Jubilee and said to Cenk Uygur, yeah, well, isn't taking money as a private company for advertising?
You'd be known as the caddies, bitch. Just keep judging for their actions, homie. Bro, I'm sorry. If you don't know what dark money is, you cannot be allowed to be a political influencer. I'm sorry, if you don't know how to pronounce APAC, you should be allowed to be a political influencer. That's legitimately fucking stupid. That's a legitimate idiot.
The same thing as money in politics, bruh. And Harry's system was like a Biden dead end. Biden was literally on death's door, right about to drop out, and Harry's system was like, he's amazing, he's gonna win, and then as soon as he dropped out, he was like, did I say Biden? Biden who? Let's just recap what they're actually mad about. All Taylor Lorenz was saying is that they should like be transparent about their funding. That's it.
I'm not against creators taking money where they can get it. My problem is disclosure. And I think when it comes to disclosure, yes, we should ask more from the creators we follow. We should also push groups like Chorus, right? We should, the focus here should be...
By the way, I disagree with Taylor. I don't think you should be getting money wherever you can get it. Taylor is wrong. I'm going to talk to her about this later. I don't believe that creators should be getting money wherever they can get it. No. I want the disclosure so I could specifically tell you you're a piece of shit. Honestly, I would ban it. I think all money for political advocacy that comes from private sources should be illegal, except for unions. I think unions should be able to give people money for advocacy. But every other group, fuck them.
On Chorus and 1630 and say, what are you guys doing to make sure that this program you're running is transparent? When are you going to release the list of creators in this program on your website? When are you going to upload the contract that outlines the stipulations they have to agree to be part of this program? And what is your selection criteria for creators that are part of the program? And how are you ensuring that that is equitable? Those are the questions we should be asking.
Was there anything she agree with there? Like, really? Like, be transparent, put the contract on, say where the funding is coming. And really, maybe you should tell people what the criteria...
Police unions aren't unions.
It was for picking these, like, just basic honest disclosure. Anyone really disagree with that? Because everything else they're saying and throwing at the wall and throwing at her is just a distraction from those very basic, very reasonable points. By the way, if we were talking about the right, none of you would be disagreeing.
He wanted me on his show like a year ago, and I was like, BT dubs, run up to the election, but I am going to talk about Gaza. Didn't get a call back. Like, I was like, okay, fine. There is a reason people are being selected, and it's because their selective reporting. Midas Touch squarely focused only on, domestic politics. And
yeah, she's absolutely right. That's right. He so badly, David Pakman, did not want to talk about Gaza that he didn't even get back to her about
One Unique Beast. Thank you for the 6 months. We appreciate you.
Going on it. And Brian Tyler Cohen never talks about Gaza. Neither do any of the other creators. Neither does Midas Touch. They are all doing a massive disservice. They are not helping. You think that them ignoring this is actually the party? Well, she seems to think so. But considering how she handled the Unfuck America tour and all the campaigns she's worked on, I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't think her advice is worth listening to. This is all just posturing, by the way, because like I said, I know, I'm not even denying that sometimes like I'm on the left and I know the left can be annoying. We can be annoying sometimes, okay? But no one likes you. The party sucks. But I guess somehow you think you're going to put together a winning coalition.
Basically, what they think is this is the cynicism of the center politics. Is what has happened to America is an explosion of cynicism and an explosion of narcissism. And when somebody is a cynic and they're a narcissist, we are in deep fucking trouble. Basically, centrist Democrats know that their positions are unpopular. However, they're so narcissistic that they think they're better than everybody and they're smarter than everyone. Now, they don't ever actually have to test their intelligence or their beliefs against any other challenge. So they kind of assume that they're correct and that everyone who disagrees with them is an idiot, and they know the majority of people disagree with them. So what do you do in that situation? Well, because they believe they're the Ubermensch, very fascistic of them, they want to create a political system where the left cannot be selected and that it is a choice between them or fascism. And because they're narcissists, if the fascists are going to win based on that formulation, they say good. Everybody who refused to vote for them over the fascists, or everyone who refused to support them, deserves to be punished. That is the political logic of the centrist Democrat in 2025. The only choice is them or fascists. If they can't beat the fascists, then we deserve fascism and we deserve to be punished. That is their logic. Now, if you say, hey, actually, if we offer more shit, if we offer a better vision, if we offer Medicare for all, free public colleges and universities, including and especially historically black colleges, if we talk about union jobs, unionization, bringing green manufacturing to the United States, rebuilding our infrastructure, rebuilding, building a high-speed rail network, building rural hospitals, defeating food deserts, ensuring that every single American has access to cutting-edge technology in healthcare, making sure that we clean our air and we rebuild our water systems. And we build public transit networks that could get us away from cars. And we could build public housing and social housing programs to make sure that people can actually live in the communities that have jobs and that they desire to live in. If you tell them that it is possible to accommodate the global warming and to harden our country against the changes that are inevitable while we end our dependency on fossil fuels, when you say we could hire tens of millions of Americans in green jobs, and then win, they will say you're being pie in the sky because the parliamentarian. They'll tell you that the filibuster is going to stop it or the Supreme Court will never allow it. They won't actually argue with you on the merits of each one of those policies, because Medicare for all is clearly the best policy. Building high-speed transit, both high-speed rail and robust public transit, is clearly the superior policy to what we're doing now. Ending the war and ending America's excessive confrontational approach toward China is clearly the right move geopolitically. Having America turn away from fossil fuels in favor of renewable energy is clearly the right decision, both for our air, for our water, for good jobs, and for climate change. Like, they can't actually debate you on the merits of each policy. So the only thing they could do is try to claim that it's not politically plausible. Well, it's not politically plausible. Why? Because they oppose it. But they can't actually debate the merits. So we're trapped in this cycle of they won't debate the merits, but they'll say it's not politically plausible. So we never actually campaign in a way that draws in millions of new voters, and then they lose elections, and then it's a perpetual cycle. For an autodidact, what would be the best source for learning political science? Gosh, that's such a good question. I really need to. The reason why I'm not answering your question is because I wasn't an autodidact. I have been obsessed with politics since I was a kid. I was taking AP US history, AP government. I was majoring in political science and legal studies as an undergrad. I went to law school. I read, minoring in philosophy. I did I studied this shit in a formal setting, and it was my passion. And I had teachers, and I had professors, and I had mentors. And then I became an organizer, and I learned more as part of organized groups, right? I didn't sit there one day and go, I'm going to teach myself political science. I was somebody who was just interested in it as an academic pursuit from the beginning. But it's a very good question. I think, though, let me think about that. I need to come up with a syllabus, and I, honest to God, need to come up with a test. I think a poli-sci 101 test for political streamers would be a good bit. The problem is people would study it. People would study. I kind of want to keep the questions. I want to keep the questions secret. Or maybe I should get 200 questions and pull a random 50 out of that. Would they even take the test? I mean, all the people that stream at the same time as me should definitely take it. ChatGPT, I would never. I will say that I would say the best kind of pop history book you should read as a leftist is A People's History of the United States. I really do recommend, if you want to know why politics are the way they are in America today, I would read Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, which is basically a history of the modern progressive movement since, I believe, Jesse Jackson, all the way up to Bernie Sanders, 2016. So that'll give you context over why I'm so tired of the same old arguments being brought up again, because they've already been dispensed with 20 times. And then some liberal turns 18 and they're like, the left doesn't care about providing universal they want Medicare for all, but that will not make up the disparities in healthcare. And you're like, just doing Medicare for all will not cover the disparities. It's like, motherfucker, Medicare for all is a slogan, bitch. The policy is very specifically intersectional, written by Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. What the fuck are you talking about? Of course it does. Of course it's intersectional. What the fuck are you talking about? It's a slogan. Ooh, Black Shirts and Reds is pretty good. I do think Parenti was a little bit too suspect of China in Black Shirts and Reds. I will say that. I feel like there was a lot of cynicism toward the Communist Party of China, because ironically, the Communist Party of China started reforming away from a very strict ML command economy before the Soviet Union did. And so the Soviet Union actually criticized China a lot as being revisionist, which created a certain like political milieu among the left, especially the like pro-Soviet left in the West. And when the Soviet Union collapsed horribly because Gorbachev was even more naive and stupid than any of the reformers in China, people kind of never really realized like, oh wait, maybe China's Communist Party is wiser than we thought. And there's definitely some racism and xenophobia and Orientalism in there as well. Like a lot of white leftists to this day do not take Vietnam and China seriously because they're fucking white racists. Or they have internalized white racism, like internalized Orientalism. And I see a lot of rad libs and anarchists doing that as well, where they're like, China is imperialist and China is this. And it's like, bro, like, you do not know what you're talking about. You're just throwing out talking points that you heard from the State Department. Like, be a little bit. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have critical support for China, that which means we can criticize China. We can criticize any entity that involves itself in international trade is doing fucked up shit, right? Like, China is definitely trading with people that are bad. But if you're talking about the way that they interact with African countries and you say it's imperialism in the same way the IMF and the West does, you don't know what you're talking about at all. Or you are flattening such a chasm of a difference as to serve the interests of the West. And this is one of those things where I can kind of surmise if somebody has read anything or knows anything about geopolitics, if they say that China is imperialist like the US. If they say that, I kind of think they're not worth listening to on anything. Because that's so wrong and so badly argued as to be like a disqualifying statement. What's my biggest criticism of China? My biggest criticism of China is that they are leaving a huge opportunity for soft power by not being more anti-Israel. I think China should be leading a global effort to contain Israel based on the Gaza genocide in the same way that the Soviet Union did with South Africa. South Africa got a gigantic W by helping destroy apartheid in South Africa. And I feel like China is leaving a really good W on the table by being, yes, they're very anti-Israel in the UN, but for the most part, they don't. And yes, they support Palestinians, but they don't do enough. They're kind of like, they give strong diplomatic support, but they don't do enough concretely to contain Israel. I think that is by far and away the worst for a policy mistake they've ever made. I think they're anti-interventionist to a fault, and they're too willing to they're not willing enough to support socialism internationally. And I blame Xi for this. I think this is Xi's biggest mistake. I know why he does it. Like, I know why he says this, because he argues that China should be isolationist in the sense of non-interventionist, like that they should not seek a sphere of influence, that they should not be imperialistic or hegemonic. They want to trade with people as equals, and that's his personal geopolitics. And I personally think it's too appeasy. I think China appeases the rest of the world too much. That being said, how could you argue with the results?
And ignoring the genocide in Gaza, which again is not only doing a huge disservice to your own party, because 92% of the Democratic voter base.
The Sudan genocide, which we haven't talked about enough, is an American genocide. I think it's, the Rapid Reaction Force? Is it the Rapid Reaction Force? No, it's not. It's the Rapid Support Force. Yeah, the RSF. Yeah. The RSF is supported by UAE. The UAE is an American ally. So the Sudan genocide is an American genocide. The Rapid Support Forces, yes, the RSF. So it's just another American genocide. And there's also that's just the straight facts.
Opposes the genocide in Gaza and wants to defund Israel. So not only are you guys being mad disrespectful to your own voter base, it's a disgrace.
I saw some people saying that Lenin's analysis on imperialism is not valid because he was white. If I saw someone saying something, first of all, Russians are white now? That's very interesting. I mean, yes, in America today, we would probably say that Russians have white privilege. But you're saying that a Russian in 1917 has white privilege? That's like really anachronistic. You're projecting current racial dynamics of the U.S. onto a historical figure for which it did not apply. That's like, is the person 15? Is that person 15? Honestly, I would say that Lenin's book, that imperialism is the highest form of capitalism, may be one of the most important intellectual contributions ever made by a Marxist. It's why I really like Lenin is one of those people who you could tell if someone has never read him if they don't like him. Like, not liking Lenin is the biggest red flag that a person doesn't. I mean, you could disagree with what happened in the Soviet Union and blame him for excesses of the revolution, but if you're talking about intellectually, that's just crazy. Kotsky is one of those people that's really interesting because I think how do I even put this? I could tell when someone's a LARPer by what they say about Kotsky, because Lenin ripped him apart. So obviously everybody says he's bad, but if you read what he says, you could understand his position and why he was so popular at the time. I'm trying to like come up with a comparison that makes sense. Should we read Xi's book, The Governance of China? Sure, but it's pretty dry. It's good though.
A moral blight for ignoring.
Okay. This is my most liberal take. I think a socialist reading of John Rawls is completely legitimate. I think a socialist reading of Rawls is completely legitimate. It's my most lib take. It's my most pro-American take. I think a theory of justice could easily be interpreted in a socialist way. I agree with that. That's my most lib take. While most people think of Rawls' writing as like at most social democratic, I think it justifies socialism as well. And I think he actually said that at the end of his life too.
Yeah. But what do I know? Maybe we should check in with what Ethan Decline and Hutch.
My partner is studying with a student of Rawls and she interprets him as a socialist. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do. Okay, let's back this up. Where's Pakman? I thought she was going to show Pakman crashing out. Where did Pakman crash out?
Fighting.
God damn it. I thought she was going to show the actual Pakman crash out. Okay, chat, sorry for the dead air. I'm looking for it. God, this guy posts so fucking much. Jesus Christ. God, this guy is so fucking stupid. Holy shit. Mike, what is happening? Yeah, we'll talk about this. Not today, though, because Taylor's coming on. Also, after stream chat, I will be doing a fundraiser. I'm going on the Do Not Worry pod right after stream. So we're having Taylor Lorenz on later, and then I'm going on the Do Not Worry pod because they're doing a fundraiser. And I said I would help them out. What is Bad Empanada doing? This is what we call cringe crash out. That's literally what it is. Okay, here we go.
What has changed, as I pointed out yesterday, is I no longer believe we are all part of the same movement. There's the governance-focused, big tent, win elections and pass laws left. That's where I am. And then there's this purity test left. The ones who don't really care if we lose and sometimes seem to like it so they can say, I told you so, as long as they feel morally untainted. They treat compromise as corruption. They think we need a better media ecosystem must mean install CIA-approved thought leaders or something like that. So maybe we were never...
By the way, dude, you literally are that, though. Like, here's the thing. David Pakman, this is what makes him such an insidious little liar. There are people who are out there yelling that electoral politics should be completely ignored. But that's not who's criticizing this guy. I'm sure those people are, but that's not who's criticizing you, David. You are silent on the Holocaust. You're silent on a genocide. And your political, your political prescriptions over what we should do to win elections has shown to be completely untenable. And so now you're accepting money from dark money groups, billionaires who want to keep the Democratic Party to the right, especially on Israel. You're right that we're not on the same team. Just join the Republican Party. Just join it, David.
Never really part of the same movement. If I've been red-pilled about anything, maybe it's that. We overlapped when convenient, and that was it. But I'm not getting red-pilled. I'm done pretending that everyone with a left-wing label is on the same...
Mike, listen to Bad Empanada's arguments before you criticize. It actually makes even less sense than what you think. It's cool. I mean, I could make a don't join a union video better than Bad Empanada could. I know... See, I've actually studied the American labor movement. I actually have experience with the American labor movement. I know the skeletons in the closet of organized labor. I know the history of the Red Scare. I know how Democrats conspired to attack socialist and communist unions. I know how people were excluded because of the Communist Control Act of 1953. I understand these issues better than he does. Okay? I know more about it. I've studied it more than him. But I also understand that Just because we had these things happen in the past during the Cold War doesn't mean that therefore unions should not be attempted. We should learn from the lessons of the Cold War, of the past, of the racial tension that was allowed to fester early in the labor movement when it started with the American Knights of Labor in 1847. But then we also should look at the highlights of the American labor movement, the UAW, and the way that it funded the March on Washington, the way that the organized labor movement was in lockstep with the civil rights movement, the way that, socialists pressured the Roosevelt administration in communist unions. We have both examples warning us of failure. It's like saying that my army lost a battle, so fighting battles is bad. Instead of studying why you lost the battle and organizing your army to win the next one. That's the problem I have with people like Bad and Panada. People like Bad and Panada see a failure, and because they can't handle defeat, even though we were right, there were plenty of armies that were in the right in history that nonetheless lost. Slave revolts got put down. Slave rebellions got massacred. Decolonization movements and even nations were wiped out. Innocent cities plundered. Honorable commanders defeated by perfidy. Bad shit happens in the world. Just because you're right doesn't mean you will win. This isn't a video game. This isn't a book. This is real life. Sometimes the bastards win. And the best way to defeat them is not to put your head in the sand and seek some intellectual purity to hold on to like a fucking comfortable blankie. It's about forming a political movement that learns from its mistakes, that builds power in the real world. And when I showed you the Chinese 80th anniversary victory parade yesterday, do you think the Red Army of China won because of the purity of their thought or their skill with guns and guerrilla warfare?
Page, you can stand for progress in a lot of different ways. You can want change without torching everyone who's only 98% on your side. But no, I am not having a political awakening. I am not the next Dave Rubin. None of that is happening.
The Soviet propaganda machine did a real number on his reputation. I mean, Trotsky was never bad. Trotsky kind of sucks. Trotsky is kind of like the Bad and Panada of the Bolsheviks, if I'm being honest. Like, I think that what he did to build the Red Army was so important, and he will always forever go down in history for that. And his contributions to the Russian Revolution are undeniable. But he became the Bad and Panada of the Bolsheviks, and he ended up alone in Mexico getting stabbed by some guy with an ice pick. Do you think Soviet propaganda has more influence on American leftists than American propaganda on Trotsky? Are you serious? I think a lot of Trotskyists actually became neoconservatives. I think Trotskyism is very much more aligned with the U.S. State Department and the U.S. foreign policy than you think. I think there's a lot of ex-Trots all over the U.S. who are doing evil shit. Do I think Trotsky would have been a better leader than Stalin? It's such a hard question to answer. And so David Pakman says the left isn't part of the same movement. And guess what? Now you have Democratic congressmen going on the news and saying the same thing as David.
No, okay. So now you have Hakeem Jeffries. He's the House Minority Leader who'd love to be the head of. And
I think he should be. He's fantastic.
But let's ask this question. What does he do about Zoran Mamdani? Does he endorse him, or does that hurt him in trying to take control in 2026?
Listen, I have not talked to him about it recently. I don't think he should endorse Zoran Mamdani. I think it would be bad for the Democratic Party nationwide.
But President Trump wants him to be the nominee. He wants to run against him.
Of course President Trump wants that.
He wants to make him the face of the Democratic Party.
We are democratic capital. Capitalism has raised more people out of poverty than any other system in the history of the world.
But people are buying
It has created more innovation. And socialism has failed everywhere throughout the United States of America. Zoran Mamdani and other democratic socialists should create their own party, because I don't want that in my party. I believe in free enterprise. I believe in democracy. I believe in the democratic ideals. Do I think there's a problem with affordability? Absolutely there's a problem with affordability. We have to make things more affordable, but we have to also support the police. We have to reduce costs. We have to reduce taxes in New York State to make us more competitive with the rest of the country.
This is, by the way, who the DCCC supported in the Democratic primary. This is the person that Nancy Pelosi endorsed in that Democratic primary. This is who, whatever you give money to the Democratic Party, this is who you're supporting. These are who they like. If you vote, I mean, and my honest to God opinion is that he's right.
I have yet to meet a New Yorker who has asked me about the opinions of Tom Swazi as it pertains to what it means to lead this city. And with regards to the mayor and the allegations of different job offerings that have been made.
Why don't you and Bada put on a debate? I don't get why you and Hassan get so damn aggressive on him for opposing Graham Plattner. By the way, I have my own, I want to make this very clear. I have my own concerns about Graham Plattner. However, I'm also aware of political reality, and my number one goal is to get to the American empire to stop funding a genocide. And politicians who win on a explicitly pro-Palestine, pro-BDS, pro-weapons embargo message is worth the fact that they have some skeletons in their closet, right? And me needing to know more about his time in Blackwater doesn't mean that I have endorsed him or said he's amazing. I have said we should look into that. He has said the right things about Gaza, which is my number one issue. And for you, if you live in fucking Argentina or the United States or somewhere else that's not under an act of genocide, maybe you don't think that has priority. But for me, that has priority. I would vote for somebody who said they were in favor of a public option over Medicare for all if they were also coming out and saying there's a genocide in Gaza, we need an arms embargo. It's my number one issue. My number one issue. And so when somebody comes out there and says, I'm against Israel, I'm right there with them for critical support. Critical support. Not saying this guy's perfect, not doing a parasocial worship session, but saying this is so important and his opponent is literally an AIPAC stooge, I will give them critical support. I have a lot of things. As far as debating him, he got himself banned on Twitch. And so it would be completely useless for me. It would just be going on to YouTube and making a debate where he controls everything. No, thank you. I don't go into debates where the other party controls everything. If I go on his YouTube channel, then he can mute me. But if I'm also streaming on my Twitch, he can't mute me. I don't do debates where the other person controls shit. Independents' unfavorable view of the Democratic Party is at 69% right now. I am, and by the way, I'm in favor of forming, just so you guys know where I stand on every issue. I want there to be a new socialist workers party or labor party, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that runs a bold left-wing campaign. I have always been a dirty break guy. I want all the progressives to leave the Democratic Party, start their new party, and go after the Democrats. That's what I want to happen. But I also provide critical support at Democratic primaries when people are running who have good positions on Gaza. That is my political valiant. That's my entire political electoral strategy. I am not a Democrat. I don't like the Democrats. I want them destroyed. But I will support some Democrats who are good on Gaza to put pressure on the American state to end the genocide. It's very straightforward. And if you disagree with that, I think you're a fucking idiot, personally. And the best way, if you've actually studied American history, whenever there's been a successful third party, it had prominent elected officials and people with strong prominence in culture generally launching it. For example, the Progressive Party was started by former President Teddy Roosevelt, and a bunch of people left the Republican Party to form the Progressive Party. And they won a bunch of elections. He won electoral college states. They won senators and congressmen. When the Republican Party was formed, they broke off from existing Whig politicians, left the Whig Party. For example, Abraham Lincoln was a Whig. Having people that are in office it right now makes the opportunity of a dirty break more likely to succeed. Jeremy Corbyn leaving the Labor Party makes the Jeremy Corbyn party more likely to succeed because they have a prominent political actor already. This is what I'm advocating for. I'm not advocating for a 17th third party that gets 0.2% of the vote because no one prominent is behind it.
In the Trump administration. It's not the question of where that job is.
I'm going to be watching the Don't Join a Union video probably tomorrow, and then I'll do a thorough debunking of it. I just have Taylor Lorenz coming on in 1/2 hour. So Taylor Lorenz and I are going to talk about the Wired article. So I don't want to start a 30-minute video that'll take me 2 hours to react to. Would you be able to cover the mainstream coverage of Sri Lanka's crimes? They're doing Israel shit, but for Sri Lanka. Yes, I can cover that.
What agency? It's that the sole intent of this entire conversation is how to increase the odds of any candidate defeating our campaign. That's what all of them are working backwards from. And it speaks to how threatened the Trump administration is by our agenda, because it's an agenda that actually seeks to fulfill the very things that he campaigned on, which are lower costs for working class Americans coast to coast. And yet, while he has exacerbated that cost of living crisis, he knows that we are sincere in our commitments to transform the ability of New Yorkers to live in this city.
And then quickly, just, you said that you're only going to participate in the 2 CFB sanctioned debates.
God, that's so fucking funny.
Zero. Obviously, these are dramatic proposals that are reckless and they are dangerous.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. As you just heard, candidates in the race for mayor have been targeting Zohran Mamdani's ties to the New York City Democratic Socialists of America. Mamdani's rivals have drawn attention to his support for decriminalizing sex work or creating government-run grocery stores and, of course, freezing the rent. But just how much of Mamdani's platform is based on the DSA's charter or goals? Here to talk more about this is a special panel. Gustavo Gordillo is the co-chair of the New York City DSA. Batul Hassan is a steering committee member at the DSA and serves as the labor director at the Climate and Community Institute. Welcome to the program. Good to see you. You don't look very dangerous to me, but let's get into it. The National DSA's website describes democratic socialism as, quote, a system where ordinary people have a real voice in our workplaces, neighborhoods, and society. What would that look like in New York City?
I think in New York City, it would start with something like the agenda that Zohran ran for mayor on. We're seeing that in New York City, working class people are increasingly struggling to make a living. It doesn't feel like a city where working class people are free to pursue their dreams, to pursue even making a decent livelihood. And democratic socialism is about empowering ordinary working class people. That's been at the root of Zohran's agenda. It's why we chose to run on a platform of affordability, because this is the central crisis facing normal people in the city, which has become a playground for the rich.
So now, to the extent that there are institutions that are out there, as imperfect as they may be, there are political clubs, there's labor unions, there's community organizations of many kinds that are out there. What's been missing? What is the DSA adding that you think is missing from the scene here in New York?
Yeah, well, if you come to a DSA meeting, which everyone is welcome to do, you'll see that it's composed of New Yorkers from all kinds of backgrounds, all walks of life, all neighborhoods in the city, who share a goal of building a better world, and that happens in many different ways. I first joined DSA 8 years ago because I was trying to figure out how to organize a workplace in my union, and I went to DSA to learn the skills and gain the tools and build the relationships to make that happen. So I think that DSA gives people a place to take their hopes and their dreams and to start thinking strategically and building strategically, including through campaigns, some of which are electoral, as we saw with the mayor's race, some of which are legislative or labor campaigns or otherwise. But it gives working class people a place to actually enact the world that they want to see.
Okay, and I saw a notice that you recently passed 10,000 in membership for the New York City chapter. Is that about right? Is that?
We're nearing 11,000 at this point, and we think we'll probably double our membership from what it was when we first launched the mayoral campaign.
So now, what would you say to a dyed-in-the-wool working class Democrat who says, why don't you create your own party line? Why do it this way? Why go into somebody else's organization, meaning the Democratic Party, and try and insert your values instead of building out your own party?
I think what we're seeing currently is a third of the people in this country do not support the direction that it's going in. And it's not just the Republicans who are to blame for that. Of course, Trump is leading an assault on the working class, but the Democrats as well, through their failure of leadership, are the ones who allowed Trump to rise in the first place. Our commitments are to the working class, and working class priorities, they're about wages, they're about how can I stay living in my apartment, how can I get to work, how can I pay for childcare so that my kids can grow up in the city and I don't have to move into the suburbs. The party line question that's not really something that ordinary working class people are debating day to day. We go to where mass interest is, and we fight for campaigns that we think are going to appeal to a broad swath of New Yorkers. We welcome allies from all walks of life, and Democrats often do.
My general feeling about the party question is that it is a tactical question, not a moral question, right? It's like, what type of strategy should you use on this specific battlefield? You know what I mean? Like, that is what I think about these questions. It's not a question that like actually hits from a moral position, because Democrat Party doesn't mean anything. It literally is an empty void. Now, there are structures that are all around the Democratic Party. Now, a lot of people identify as a Democrat, but when you actually try to wade into what that means, it doesn't mean shit. It's like News Corp or something. It's just Democrat. It's like Politician Corp. It has no actual content except what you fill in. So the question of whether I personally want to get rid of the Democratic Party because I think the institutions are so corrupt in DC. If it loses its ability to win elections by people identifying with it, we could clear out a lot of people that are completely worthless in one foul swoop. That's why I want to do it. I want to run as a third party because I believe the Democratic Party would collapse and go away, just like what happened in Mexico with the Morena party, right? But there could be a situation where it ends up like France, where the conservatives and the centrists and the left are in like rough thirds. Like, that would be bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, that would suck. I think it would be more like Mexico, where the center left collapses, leads to a populist left campaign that wins 60% of the vote. That's where I believe would happen, but it's not a guarantee. I just think the Democratic Party is so bad and we're so far behind the 8 ball that it is the better strategy.
Ally with us.
Let me ask,
Mike, does the DSA plan, or are they considering eventually becoming their own party once membership is high enough and they're well enough known? Because I'd be very on board if that's the long-term thinking. Okay, that is such a good question. What you're talking about is basically a subject of active debate in the Democratic Socialists of America. Some people want to do a dirty break now. Some people want to do a clean break later. Some people want to do Democratic Party entryism with the idea of getting a presidential nominee that is aligned with DSA and then using that presidential administration to realign the Democratic Party to the left. Those are all different positions that are held within the DSA. There is no clear answer yet. In 2025, yes. Okay, thank you, Elwood, for bringing that forward. The convention, I did believe, voted a majority position for a dirty break path forward, but that doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to be held to in the future.
Strategically, I saw an analysis that the Mamdani campaign targeted Muslim and South Asian neighborhoods. We've done some reporting on that and some analysis, but also communities with a high percentage of renters, resulting in him winning 8 out of 10 districts that had the largest number of rental units in the city. That's where the freeze the rent appeal, I think, really sort of took off. Is that going to be the path to victory in the general election as well, do you think?
I mean, the rent freeze demand was hugely popular. We're in a majority renter city, and hundreds of thousands of people are being priced out of their apartments right now, while landlords see profits going into the double digits. So yeah, I think that rent freeze is a really important demand when people are thinking about what they need to remain in the city and to be able to live a dignified life in this city. I think the rent freeze demand is also a great one that clearly mobilized hundreds of thousands of people to support Zoran's platform because it's also actionable. We have a unique rent guidelines board system here in New York City where people know that the mayor can freeze the rent, and that's something that they have had their expectations raised to expect from Zoran.
And what happens, I mean, membership in the national DSA and residency in New York City are required to be a member of your organization, is that right? So is it fair to ask Zoran or any of you or any member, do you subscribe to the national group's principles or their platform, the things that they put on their website? That's a fair question, right?
I think that we're about what we do just as much as we're about what we say. And we've committed to Zoran's mayoral campaign in the past Some of our priority campaigns have been around taxing the rich, which we've done successfully in New York State. We've passed climate law legislation to build renewable energy with union labor. We've passed increased tenant rights.
And by that you mean members of, say, the state assembly and the state senate who are DSA members.
Exactly, but together with our organization, our own members are out on the streets knocking doors to talk to people about these demands. Those are the priorities that we lead with. That's where we put our organizational capacity into. And that's what we're promising with Zoran mayoralty.
You're not asking us to ignore some of what I would call showstoppers. I go and look at the national program, and I'm like, whoa, end U.S. military aid to all governments. Support normalization of relations with Cuba, Iran, and Venezuela. Close all U.S. foreign military bases. I think of those as like sort of showstoppers. Like that's, something where it's like, well, do you believe it or do you not believe it? Just because you're not pushing for it this year or this season, should I associate you with this? Is this something that ultimately you want to see happen?
The national organization is decentralized. We're a complex org, just like unions are. The New York City DSA makes its own commitments, but democratically, our members vote on what we're going to campaign for. And that's how we're going to proceed.
I'm thinking, especially in the
my general feeling, just to comment on this, this is exactly why electoral politics is so important as a avenue of organizing. This is forcing mainstream media to bring on DSA members to talk about politics locally. This would not ever happen if you were just 100% outside of the electoral realm. But because Zoran is there, these DSA members are forced into the conversation because we're talking about who's about to exercise power or not. And that is what people who completely disdained electoral politics don't know. And what they don't understand is that mass media is the easiest way to get the attention of the most amount of people, which is why we need to take advantage of it to get our message out. Can you imagine if somebody said leftists shouldn't read books because assuming people know how to read is anti-illiteracy bias? There's a lot of people out there that are illiterate. And so when you write books and pamphlets, you're actually discriminating against people that lack literacy. And the left shouldn't do anything that is bigoted against illiterate people by assuming that people can read. Do you see how this rad lib shit can spin you off into just the weirdest spaces? The answer to illiteracy is a campaign that includes messaging that can reach the illiterate. And one of the major concerns of people who are illiterate is they want to learn how to read. So you're not helping illiterate people by avoiding writing books and pamphlets and newspapers. You help illiterate people by going and talking to illiterate people, organizing the illiterate, and asking the illiterate people what their concerns are. One of them is becoming literate. So just standing back from entire avenues of human experience, from places that have eyes, and recognizing the shortcomings of those places, recognizing that they're not going to achieve all of our ends, but they are purposes, they are means themselves. Electoral campaigns, socialist politicians are not ends, they are means. Means to do what? Build anti-electoral reforms, anti-reformist reforms, meaning reforms that make the working class more powerful, that give us more space to exercise our economic power, that increase the material conditions of the working class, that rein in American imperialism abroad, that stamps on revolutionary movements all over the world. That is what seizing state power in America in the imperial core is about. And, as far as this, a politician say what they believe. And they should campaign on what they are running on. Every politician should have that space to maneuver, as long as they're not betraying core principles.
Business and political leadership in New York, the ones who are freaked out by the rise of Mamdani or who are concerned about your organization, are they in a way sort of doing you paying you the compliment of taking you seriously?
Well, it's not just a compliment. I think it's real. I also think that we're proud of a lot of our endorsed electeds, for example, who have been a presence in New York State politics since 2018. And I think that a lot of New Yorkers know what we're about because they see us. They see our electeds, like my state senator is a DSA-endorsed member of the organization, Jabari Brisport, our city council people. they see what it means to be a socialist elected. And fundamentally what that means is standing on the sides of the workers against the billionaire class and against this version of a city that's turning into a playground for the rich, while so many people can't afford to pay their rent, can't afford to buy their groceries, can't afford to raise their kids in this city. So that's fundamentally our position that we take.
Okay, we're going to wish you the best of luck. We'll see you out on the campaign trail. They'll continue to kick your name around. If you think it's being used wrongly, please contact us. We'll, sort of try and keep this conversation going. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Today, multiple outlets are reporting that Donald Trump is attempting to tip the scales of New York City's mayoral election by offering some of the...
Chad, why do you think this is? For my anti-electoral leftists, why do you think Trump is trying to get Cuomo elected? Are they just wrong? Is Trump and Cuomo's alliance just wrong? That, a lot of the anti-electoral left will say that Mamdani will betray us and will steal all the energy from the socialist movement, and it won't actually implement any reforms that will improve the conditions of the working class. So if that's the case, why isn't Trump trying to get Mamdani elected? That'll disillusion the socialist movement. That'll disillusion the left. That'll make the left weaker, right?
Candidates' jobs in the administration.
I don't care about Badapadada's identity politics. I care about him attacking Plattner for his shit record while Hassan and Mike are being charitable. I'm being charitable to Plattner for one reason, and it's very simple and straightforward. Because he's against the genocide in Gaza and he wants a weapons embargo on Israel. And he's running for the United States Senate. However, I'm still concerned about his history in Blackwater, and I want to hear more about what he did there, why he left, and what he thinks that private military contractors, whether he thinks they should be banned, as I do. But I'm not stupid enough to mindlessly attack him without any purpose. I am in politics for a purpose. That is ending the genocide in Gaza is my #1 issue. And politicians who win on that platform scare Democrats. That's it. I'm not endorsing him as God King. I'm not even endorsing him yet. I just think it's exciting that in a swing state like Maine, we might have a left-wing candidate who opposes Israel's genocide. And trying to dig through his biography to find some point where I could be like, I wash my hands of this, I don't care, is not politics. That is personal branding. And if you're not interested in American politics, that's fine. But that's my explanation. And I'm not saying that what Graham has done in his life is therefore okay.
In order to help Andrew Cuomo defeat Zohran Mamdani. Ever since the 33-year-old Mamdani won the Democratic primary in June, the Fox News viewer, who is our president, has been taking a special interest in the New York City race.
If a communist gets elected to run New York, it can never be the same, but we have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. You have a lot of crooked things going on in New York. We're going to straighten out New York. Maybe we're going to have to straighten it out from Washington.
Now, the New York Times is reporting that advisors to Trump are trying to induce the current incumbent mayor.
Okay, orange dullness. Who doesn't call it a genocide? Who doesn't call it a genocide? Who doesn't call it a genocide? You're talking about Bernie Sanders. Why are you changing the subject? You're talking about Plattner. Why are you changing the subject? Here is the Jewish Insider. Graham Plattner's anti-Israel fixation in the Maine Senate race. Every one of the ads of the Maine Democrat Senate candidate is running on Facebook and Instagram states his opposition to AIPAC, and several accuse Israel of genocide. So the Zionists see him as an enemy. The Zionists see that he's calling it a genocide with his advertising and his campaign messaging. So you just spread misinformation. Okay, now that you know Plattner calls it a genocide, he spread misinformation. That's weird. I mean, he just tweeted this 2 days ago. It's not complicated. Not one more taxpayer dollar for genocide. Let's be for fucking real. Our taxpayer dollars could build schools and hospitals in America, not bombs to destroy them in Gaza. People are being kidnapped in unmarked vans by mass police. There's a genocide happening in Palestine. Liberal billionaires have taken over our government, and all Democratic leadership could do is send us another fundraising text. So you have a campaign who's literally running on Israel is doing a genocide and we have to stop giving them weapons. And your campaign is, well, who cares? So either you're stupid because you don't know anything about American politics and how AIPAC spends tens of millions of dollars against anyone who speaks out against Israel, or you don't know that the Israel is only being perpetuated because of the American empire. And the more politicians who start losing their jobs because of Israel support is the only way that we're going to stop this genocide. Because China ain't invading. Egypt ain't invading. No country other than Yemen has done anything to intervene. Iran only intervened when they got bombed first. So that's just reality. I'm only defending this, which is all true. You have millions of immigrants in this country who are being put into concentration camps. Does that enter into your calculus? Are those people worthy of care? Or are they, is the moment they illegally cross the border and bat empanada in your mind, they lose all humanity? When someone tried to immigrate to America to save their family from a refugee or to find work, did they suddenly lose their fucking humanity? Can they be kidnapped in the concentration camps now because they're an American now in your mind? It's too late for Gaza already. Oh, thank you for giving me a convenient reason to ban you. Thank you for giving me a very clear reason to ban you. You made it too easy. All right, so orange dullness, you spread misinformation. You've been following me for approximately 1 month. Oh, okay. The Gazan people are there and they are still alive. And it's never too late. And anybody who tells you that, honest to God and true, you have depressive disorder. You need to see a psychiatrist. And here's the thing. You're saying these things to defend a content creator who I appreciate. There's a lot about Bad Parada that I still appreciate, but he has one problem, which is he's huffed the streamer Kool-Aid. We all do a little bit. Whenever you become a streamer, we all snuff the Kool-Aid. You start thinking you're smarter than everyone. You start thinking your shit don't stink because thousands of people are telling you how great you are. People are giving you money. You're getting all sorts of compliments all the time. People, you know, you have fans. You start to feel like you're influential. And if you don't have humility, if you don't have anybody in your life that can deflate you, if you're a single man, an expat, for example, that is thousands of miles away from your family, living in, say, a third world country where you're paid in American dollars, a hard currency, so you can live a luxurious lifestyle by making American content slop in English, maybe you start to lose connection to reality. You start huffing your own farts. And then when people criticize you for a bad take or a bad joke or a bad post, instead of, going, you know what, guys, you're right. I was just memeing. I went too far. Sorry about that. You double and triple down. That's what Vosh does. That's what Destiny does. That's Ethan Klein behavior. When I had that bad clip where I misspoke and said Jewish is not an ethnicity, and then later said that Netanyahu's idea of a Zionist ethnicity was demonic. When I misspoke, I didn't come out here and double and triple down. I said, you know what? I misspoke. I'm sorry. I accidentally invoked an anti-Semitic trope. That was wrong. I have to do better. We shouldn't use anything that might be construed as an anti-Semitic trope when we're discussing Zionism, because we are going to give our enemies ammunition. And the Palestinian people need us to be flawless in our advocacy for them. I apologized. And I held myself to a higher standard. But Bad Parada cannot apologize because he said something transphobic. He now has to double down, triple down, and start saying everybody in the West is evil but him, because he's a Westerner. He's a white Westerner. Why doesn't he do the ultimate and third worldist praxis and get started with the closest Westerner to himself? Anyway, chat, I'm sorry about that. I'm not defending Plattner's time in Blackwater. And anybody who says that I do is a liar. I know more about Blackwater than you've forgotten. I've been campaigning against these mercenaries for years. I talked about the anti-mercenary law on my stream 5 fucking years ago. It's called there's what's known as the anti-Pinkerton law, which is not enforced for some reason. The Anti-Pinkerton Act. It bans mercenaries in the United States, and it says the government should not hire mercenaries or private investigators. But guess what? We just violate this law. Why would he organize from his house in Argentina? Does he even speak Spanish? This isn't about me saying that he's not doing enough organizing in real life. My problem with Bad Panada is that he attacks any left-wing movement or candidate in the United States, including DSA, including not just ones that we have legitimate criticisms for. And it says that they should lose and we should vote Trump because accelerationism is going to make the American empire collapse, which it will not, because that's a piss poor analysis of American power. Donald Trump could do a lot of damage, but he's not going to destroy American hegemony. You are delusional. All that he'll do is You know, he just bombed a boat off the shores of Venezuela. He's sending naval ships to Venezuela. He may attack Venezuela. Is that good accelerationism to start a war in Latin America? Like, all because you said a transphobic thing and you can't apologize. Just apologize. Be normal. Even after all of this, I still don't want to throw Badapinata to the wolves. I don't want to throw him in the garbage. I don't want to call him a piece of shit because I just, in my heart, I believe in solidarity. And I see a comrade that is badly led astray by the incentives of the internet. So frustrating, man. All right. He's pretty good at destroying American hegemony. He's going to tariff India and force them into China's arms. Delusional brick fantasy. What will happen is India will make an accommodation to America because they have to, because the American market is too desirable. So Trump will enact some sort of unequal exchange, some sort of unfair, humiliating treaty. You don't understand history. You don't know anything about imperialism. That's the thing that's crazy. Have you actually studied? He huffed his farts too much. You nailed it. I mean, it's very tempting. As a streamer, it's very tempting to huff your own farts and think you're the smartest person in the world. I know that I'm not because I constantly seek out people that I admire and that I respect. I constantly look at people that are try to promote people that are doing the work. So I don't huff my own farts. The shit Badapinata said about indigenous people of the Americas, about how they like to be called Indian, should get him laughed out of every room. The same way Two Hole Ha should be because of his lack of knowledge of basic anatomy. These people are clowns and should be treated as such. I mean, listen, I don't agree with that because the problem with Badapinata is that he was wrong on that. Just like I've been wrong on shit. But the problem is it's not in being wrong. Being wrong is called being human. We all get things wrong once in a while. Well, the problem is not having the ability to recognize you were wrong, not having the ability to stop this and to apologize and to delete a tweet. Badapinata doesn't believe in solidarity. He's a ball of negativity, but aware and smart enough to know right from wrong politically. The truth bends left, but empathy and camaraderie is something he struggles with. That is 100%. I agree with you completely. And by the way, I am not someone, I'm not schizoid. I don't have schizoid personality disorder, but I certainly have schizoid traits. I certainly have traits of extreme self-reliance, okay? And I have a low, like, I like having friends. I like socializing. But I'm, you know, I would say that I'm on the extreme end of just like enjoying chilling with a good book. Don't scare our work from home chatters like that. Sorry. All right, hold on. Let me message Taylor. Okay. I have leftist people time as well. It's one of the many reasons I think I have undiagnosed ADHD. The reason why it's undiagnosed is because I've never gone to the doctor to get it diagnosed. I don't know. Is this Essential Committee Empathy Hour? It's not going to work. Like, Badapinata is not going to see me, you know, talk about him in this way and then be like, oh, Mike's right. I should apologize and just stop this shit. He's published a video now. It's fucking over. Like, he's never gonna back down. He's too stubborn. Like, I don't even disagree with criticizing Plattner in Maine. And the fact that he worked as a contractor for the State Department for a year is fucking sus. Like, it really is sus. And people criticizing him for that and not wanting to fuck with him is totally fine by me. But I still think that overall, that he is, if he can answer these questions, my number one issue is the Gaza genocide and stopping it. And I want to promote candidates that do that. I hope I can promote him. My deductible is $1,700. That's it? I honestly hate him now. I don't tolerate transphobia. I mean, it was pretty bad. It was an incredibly transphobic statement, and he should apologize. All right. Taylor! What exactly did he say? He basically, a trans person said some sort of like right-wing shit. And he said, like, every single time, I'm convinced that white people in America call themselves trans so they can't be criticized. At this point, I'm open to the idea that for a lot of otherwise unremarkable, horrible white people, being trans is mostly a way to claim a marginalized identity to hide behind. Like, this is just blatantly transphobic. This person with the trans flag in their name said a genocidal anti-Palestinian statement, but they didn't say, you can't criticize me because I'm trans or anything. He just threw this out there. And there are right-wing trans people because there are right-wing people. And trans people are people. Okay, chat. Taylor is here. All right, I'm admitting. Now, Taylor, if you could hear me, You enter the room muted, and I don't see your camera feed. But if whenever you're ready, you could turn that on. You're not live
Wait, can
yet.
you hear me?
I can hear you now. Wait 1 second. My audio's.
Oh, here, I didn't click the camera thing. Hold on.
Guys, is Taylor's audio fucked or is it just me?
Oh, hold on. Let me check. Hold on.
I have a Bluetooth headset. Okay, because it's just me. Hold on. God damn it. You know tech shit.
I can't. I know. I can't. I just see a photo of you.
It decided to fuck up just for me the moment you joined, which is amazing. Okay, let me see.
Eric Adams.
Okay, we're beautiful. We're great. Okay, I could hear you. Can you try talking again, Taylor?
Yeah. Testing. 1,
Beautiful.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Beautiful. You're awesome. Okay, if you don't mind, we could jump right into it. I'll bring you on the screen now.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, let me just trim some stuff here. Beautiful. All right, you're on the screen, Taylor.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Can't see myself.
I'm such a boomer. I'm such a boomer at the internet, so you're gonna have to forgive me. Okay, we did it. We'll do it live. All right, say hi, chat. All right. Well, I am so honored to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Yes.
Hey there.
Okay, Taylor. Okay, sorry, Taylor. Taylor is you are an American journalist, and I originally came across your reporting in the Washington Post before you decided to leave after calling Joe Biden a war criminal on your private Instagram.
Well, just to be clear, that's not why I left. I know that's like the narrative.
Sorry.
My editor retired. I mean, it's very funny. My editor retired. Sorry, I'm putting lip gloss on because I look like shit because I slept like 3 hours last night. My editor retired. You guys, it's not that deep. And they replaced all the senior people with Murdoch people. And I wanted to be independent. My editor was the reason I stayed there. But it's very crazy how like everything I do is framed through the lens of controversy. So when I left in October, they were like, remember when she called Biden a war criminal in August and actually called him and also called him a war criminal, by the way, for like 2 years straight? Like, that's why she left. As if like I wouldn't be loud about that. Like, don't you think like I don't know, like I would fucking, I don't know. I would, it's just not as deep as people think. But anyway, I went to go independent and I did October.
And you have been publishing amazing journalism while also walking into the realm of, how do I put this? Social media influencing. And you've managed to bridge the divide between both of them by writing an amazing Wired article. And if there's any more about your bio I missed, you're just an amazing journalist. You've written in all these major publications. I find you incredibly important for the left in general, and I love covering your reporting and stealing some of your valor. So I highly recommend Taylor, and you're one of a kind. This is what I always tell people.
This is the best dream ever. You're just saying nice things about me.
But this is true. This is true because I like people that are one of a kind, that have a strong personality, you know where they stand, because that's how I am. And so I admire seeing another. This isn't even a glaze. This is just objective truth. So thank you for coming on. And
it's an objective glaze.
We have exactly. We have been covering the Wired article and kind of the fallout for the last few days. So I hope you don't mind that I have a more conversational style than interview style.
Yeah.
If that's cool with you. Anyway, so I want to just get you started by saying, what are you surprised about with the reaction to the Wired article? I know you've been talking about this a lot, and we've been covering some of your conversations, so we don't have to start from square one here. I think my audience is pretty much caught up. What were you surprised about from the reaction to the article, and specifically the revelations that there's a secret dark money group at, influencing left-wing content on especially TikTok?
Yeah. I mean, I've written so much about all of these different sort of political influence operations over the years. So I guess like to me, what I found surprising about this one is kind of how like silly it was. And like, I don't want to say like inept, but like it just, I feel like there's a lot of politics people that are sort of getting involved in this internet space now that they realize that the Democrats need to acknowledge the internet and they don't totally like know how to navigate things. And so it just seemed kind of like, I don't know, the program seemed kind of, it wasn't transparent in ways that I thought it should be.
Okay, so this may be a good place for us to start our discussion because I am much more a lot of people think of me as like an anti-Democratic Party person, but I am actually more ambivalent. I am not anti-Democratic Party. I just want to have a strong populist party, left populist party that is actually where the base is, where I believe the American people are, because I think that's the only antidote to fascism, is actually having a program that people could fight for. As emblematic of that would be the Zoran campaign, right? Like, he showed a whole bunch of new people, turned out a whole bunch of new people, registered 10 times as many people as they did the last mayoral race. And like we saw, he won young white men, like all sorts of really good signs that maybe we could have a realignment if we tried this kind of politics. And I think like the issue with the Wired article in particular is it betrays to me a Democratic Party establishment that has hostile intent for their base.
That's like the Democrats' whole thing is hating on their base.
There's an old organizer's axiom, which is that Democrats hate their base and Republicans fear their base. And I feel like this program is a perfect example of that, because they are basically trying to pick influencers who will cotton to the Democratic Party line, no matter what. And they largely use the Gaza genocide as their litmus test. Are you a creator who speaks out regularly on the Gaza genocide? It seems that all the largest creators in this platform, except for one who was added later, seem to have been completely silent on this issue, even after Trump.
Let me just sort of clarify like what our story and our reporting found,
ahead,
which is that like these are not creators. We're never given like talking points. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, they're giving, like they're reading from scripts and things like that. We never allege that. We don't even mention Israel and Gaza in the story. I think the question a lot of people are asking is because they're looking at this creators, right? They're looking at all the creators that have come out that are part of this program. And they're like, what do these creators have in common? Well, here's these different commonalities on issues that we're noticing. What I would say, and I know that like, what Chorus's response to that has been is like, well, that's not true. Those weren't our qualifications. What I would say to them is then release the list. I sound like the absolute, but like, publish the full roster of content creators on your website. Be transparent about what qualifications were used to evaluate membership in the program. Like, if this is untrue, then provide the transparency that shows that. Right now, they're just sort of saying, well, Taylor's a liar and she's a secret MAGA, whatever, this nonsense. And they're not really moving towards more transparency. And I think that's the problem here, is that like, I would love to see the entire full list of allegedly 90 creators are in this program. And then we could look at that full 90 person list. And maybe then we could sort of say, well, it's interesting. Out of all 90 people, none of them have spoken up about, I don't know, the Kids Online Safety Act or something. Like, I don't know, just things I care about. But, like we could make these sort of inferences and then we could ask them about it. But right now, their response has just been sort of to shut down and go into secrecy mode and threaten to sue me and all these things. And that is not engendering more trust, basically, because you are going to have people thinking that it's about Gaza because you haven't sort of been transparent. And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, you have David Pakman, who is completely silent on the issue. You have Parnas, who is like, obviously he was saying pro-Israel shit all the way through 2024. You have Olivia Juliana. You have David, who else am I forgetting? Parnas. Oh, Brian Tyler Cohen is another one. The same thing, which is, and the reason why I bring up the Gaza genocide as kind of a clarifying position, it's because 7% of the Democratic Party base in recent polling supports Israel. And it's something like 77% want us to stop giving weapons to Israel and to end the war. So as far as like where the party base is, where the voters are, on the left, they're completely against what's going on in Gaza. There is a complete moral clarity among Democratic Party voters on this issue. But the establishment, the politicians, Taylor, they're all pro-Israel. And so when you have these influencers that are getting paid dark money, and it all happens to be the ones who don't speak up on this issue where the base is, that seems to be to declare kind of what the purpose of this is, which is to create an echo chamber of party shills and an incentive structure for gatekeeping where, hey, you want to get this money? You want to get interviews with Democratic politicians? You want to have your career supercharged? Well, you better not say anything that is critical of the Democratic Party, especially on hot button issues where the party is out of step with the base.
I think, again, we just need to see, they need to be transparent about this. Like, they just need to release the full roster so that we can make these informed, sort of speculations about the political leanings, right?
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I think given the lack of transparency and the Democratic Party establishment's kind of like history, with not tolerating dissent, it's just not a good look. And I also want to clarify, because I know people are confused, but like the DNC, and I know we all use DNC, and myself, I've done this before, as like shorthand for Democratic establishment.
Right.
But the DNC itself was not involved in this program. So like I saw Shelby from the DNC like fighting for her life in the comments or on Twitter being like, guys, this is not a DNC program. So I do think that that's important, just to note that it's like, it is this liberal Democrat, like dark money fund, but that is different from the actual Democratic National Committee.
Yeah. I think
they share an ideology. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
I just want people to know, because I think like the DNC also has their own influencer programs that I've reported on. And so I will continue to report on their influencer programs as well. But like, I just wanted to sort of make that distinction clear.
No, I think that's one of those distinctions that is important from a lawyerly perspective and from a journalistic perspective, because you're trying to be precise. But when we're talking about like actual political reality, these are groups that are working and coordinating,
that are aligned.
They're
Aligned,
right?
I wouldn't dispute that.
Like these big money donors, the billionaires that are trying to buy these influencers and get them onto the same hymn book, which is why it's called Chorus. Like, I think the name is very revealing, right? They're preaching to the chorus, right? Which is who? The Democratic Party base. And my personal analysis
I read it differently. I read it as they are a chorus of people all saying the same thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But who picks the hymns? Who picks what is sung? It is the Democratic Party establishment that's telling them what to say. And I think this is an intra-party play. Like, I want you to think, what do you think of this analysis? Which I think this is about the 2028 presidential primary. They want to create an ecosystem that is oriented toward people that identify as Democrats. And so that they have a ready-made group of people to basically MSNBC TikTok. They want to have this kind of...
Oh, they would love to MSNBC.
Exactly.
TikTok.
Exactly.
That's so funny. I haven't heard it put that way before, but
exactly.
I think if you were to ask, a lot of these donor type people, like what they would want. Well, not all. I don't want to shit on the donors, but like some of these establishment people, like, yes. And by the way, I say that because if you look at what the Democrats are up to in Congress right now, very awful stuff on tech policy. Okay. Basically, they are pushing things like the Kids Online Safety Act and all of these the Take It Down Act, all these really bad tech laws that are aimed at censoring and controlling the internet.
Exactly.
And they're pushing a moral panic about child safety in order to do it.
Right.
And so,
we
really just saw what happened in the UK.
They want to censor people like me and Hassan.
Well, of course.
They want to censor people that criticize Israel.
They want to censor people that criticize power.
Exactly. Yes, of course. And I think
both parties want that. That
correct.
Is something that all people in power want. All people in power want is to censor people that criticize power.
And that is exactly the crisis we have here, is because, I've heard the term blue MAGA thrown out, but I feel like it is actually happening now, where basically they're trying to ape some of the things that Trump does that are anti-democratic and about censoring. And what's ironic about, like, people, and I want your thoughts on this, like, people talk about, well, we need a Joe Rogan of the left. The thing about Joe Rogan is he's not a political commentator of the Republican Party. He's not on Chorus of the Right, where he's handed talking points and he is promoted because he's aligned with the Republican Party in lockstep. He is a general guy who had a popular podcast, and the Republicans managed an influence operation on him. They managed to, influence him by taking interviews and pushing certain narratives. And he responded to those organically. And his audience went to the right because the Democrats didn't have any counter messaging. They didn't interact with his content. They didn't have something that was catching on among his audience. Like, it was an interplay between Joe Rogan and his audience that also changed Joe Rogan's opinion. It was a symptom of young men going to the right, not Joe Rogan pushing them to the right, if that makes sense. And the Democratic Party doesn't want Joe Rogan's because they have one. His name is Hassan. He leans left. He supports...
they don't want anybody, or sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, I was going too long.
They don't like, the Democratic establishment doesn't like people. They want institutional power. Like, they don't like anti-establishment content creators, and they don't like people that challenge institutional power, because in the institutional power world, they have like power in that world, right? So they're invested in it. It's the same way that like they want to uphold like the New York Times and the mainstream legacy media, because they have a certain level of influence over those organizations, and they can withhold access, and so they can kind of control it. And what they can't, like, the internet is not like that. And they haven't really gotten their sea legs yet when it comes to the internet. What they're trying to do is pass these dangerous censorship laws in Congress and in states, and control the internet. And I kind of want to keep bringing it back to that, because I think what people are missing when they look at these stories is they're rightfully outraged, is we need to like look at how these attempts at control are manifesting like legislatively. And it's really scary what's happening. And no one on the left is acknowledging it. Like, there is no leftist movement right now that is involved in tech policy or fighting back. There's some amazing organizations. I'm wearing the t-shirt of one of them that like help fight back against surveillance capitalism. But largely a lot of leftists have promoted the same bullshit about tech, about child safety and why we need to censor the internet and all this stuff as the right. So that is something that concerns me. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think I would phrase it a little bit differently, and maybe you see what you think of what I think. But basically, I think the Democratic Party is fundamentally anti-democratic in the sense that democracy is powerful because it is a like wisdom of the crowds, right? You get information from the grassroots and you use that to change policy, or you change your advocacy. But the Democratic Party, because of the institutional logics you talked about, don't want to take that feedback because they have money coming in from certain donors. And donors have a certain perspective. And if the grassroots is giving you an opposite perspective and it conflicts with the donors, the institutional logic, especially if you have a job that's funded by the donors, is to shut those people up. And and that's why they're so fundamentally anti-democratic and anti-grassroots, and why they create programs like Chorus. I think that, I think just the broader issue with the Democrats over the past few years is that they are just completely beholden to money and institutional power and billionaires. And we shouldn't, billionaires control our political system. We have this like oligarchy, and, we need to be fighting that. But instead, they're getting more power. I mean, it's just very frustrating. I'm very frustrated at the Democrats. Well, that's why I would take what you've said on this further, because you're a journalist and you have a moral responsibility and an ethical responsibility to maintain within what you can prove. I'm going to take what you can prove, and I'm going to go a little bit further and say these people are actually an active enemy of progress, in much the same way as Republicans are, because the billionaires, you mean, or the Democratic Chorus Party? The Chorus group, the group of Chorus people are bad. I would not. Listen. We can criticize this program, right? I'm not against the concept of even having a program for centrist messaging. It's not messaging I agree with, but there are certain voters undeniably who vote for Democrats that are more centrist. They're constantly catered to. I don't think there's any lack of media speaking to them. It's the entire institutional media system. Still, maybe you want to do a TikTok program that speaks to that, whatever. My issue is the lack of transparency and where the funding is going, where like I see again, and Teddy Schleifer has done a great job at the New York Times reporting on this, but a lot of donor money right now is flooding into the content creator space because they want to replicate the sort of media ecosystem of the mainstream media on the internet. And that Cable news. Right. And so I think that's a problem. I think that we should be fighting to protect a free and democratic internet. And I think that also if we want the internet to be used for liberatory purposes, which anyone on the left should want, instead of trying to like fund these stupid programs, we should fight these dangerous tech policies that are going to give the far right a monopoly of like just an enormous amount of power. It's going to entrench their power online forever. If you pass the Kids Online Safety Act, if you pass some of these terrible age verification bills and all this stuff, we won't be able to, we will never have a leftist movement on the internet. It doesn't matter how many leftist Joe Rogans you fund, because we will be fundamentally unable to challenge power. We'll have a small consolidation of power among big tech. And I don't know if I'm explaining it well, because I know not as many people are familiar with like sort of tech policy stuff, but like we have to preserve an open and free internet, and we have to fight that through policy and paying a bunch of left, even if they were to give $1 million to Hassan and all these other people, like the Democrats need to change their policy agenda to be more popular, and they need to go aggressively and protect our civil liberties online.
Oh no, I completely agree with you, because it would be like the Printing Press Registration Act, where anytime you wanted to publish a book, you had to come forward and like prove your identity and have the cop stand next to you as you publish whatever pamphlet. You're going to constrain what is published when you do stuff like that. And that's what they're trying to do. And the reason, and they're using like all these pretextual excuses, like, you know, protect the kids, because it's really about controlling adults.
But but they're able to do that because of a moral panic about social media that a lot of leftists have fallen for. And I need everyone on the left to wake the fuck up and realize that you fell for a moral panic. Yes, Facebook and all these companies are doing evil shit. The way to make a better, you know, more competitive ecosystem is to pass comprehensive data privacy reform so that they can't do these manipulative algorithms. Give users more control, like enforce or institute policies that actually mandate more competition, and also help foster a less profit-driven internet. But we need to acknowledge that the internet is not destroying the world and melting everyone's brains and all this other conservative propaganda. Yeah, it does a lot of bad shit. But guess what? It's also the reason that we know what's going on in Gaza. It's also the reason that we're able to speak out. So I just need this like doomer brain, like these leftists, to stop like promoting this Jonathan Haidt type bullshit, where it's like, oh, it's causing mental health. Like, thank you, because I know I'm right. But like, I know that like tech policy is so low on the list when they're like grabbing people off the street. But if we don't have more left people like getting involved in these fights around tech policy, we are not going to, forget having an independent media ecosystem on the left. We're all going to be deplatformed. So, and we know, look at what's happening in the UK right now. Yeah. So please, like, let's all fight to protect Section 230, fight against these child safety laws, like all of it, you know, fight. Yeah. So anyway,
No, I completely agree with you. I think the main difference between you and me on this one thing about the Chorus creators is that, like, I see them trying to create, as you said before, like that Noam Chomskyan gatekeeping of manufactured consent that existed on cable news and television. Like, I do not get invited on television, right? Because of my views. But if I was the same exact size as a creator and I was a liberal, I would be on MSNBC. Because, and that's the reality. And the reason why is because of my politics, right? And so they want to create that same kind of logic for places like Twitch. They don't want people like Hassan or myself to be like the top political content creators on the platform. They want people like Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pakman. And you can kind of see the places where the algorithm is more opaque and more, you know, top down, like YouTube, like Instagram, where people like David Pakman do well. And then places like, you know, TikTok and Twitch, they don't do as well because the algorithms are not as of yet controlled in the same way, content based, as they are in those platforms. And so when I see this Chorus program, what I'm really seeing is an attempt to create a long-term gatekeeping program to control the discourse about the Democratic Party, to discipline the base into the same kind of electability narratives of 2016 to 2020, and to win an intra-party fight about how we take on Trump, right? And their message is capitulate to Trump, go right on immigration, moral panic on the internet. Let's censor people talking about Gaza. Let's censor people that talk about capitalism. Let's censor people that talk about American imperialism. Let us push these very milquetoast centrist narratives that are focused toward upper middle class white people in the suburbs, which matches demographically the types of people that make decisions in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with those sort of broad issues with the Democratic Party. I completely agree. I just want them to change that as well.
So do you think that, like, I disagree with you on one major point, which is you say you have no problem with these kind of programs funding creators.
No. What I'm saying is, like, I mean, I don't like it. I don't think that this is an effective strategy, but I do think that Democrats have refused to acknowledge the internet in a lot of ways and have done a lot of really ineffective programs for a while. And I do think that, like, losing it last fall has made them kind of recognize the content creator industry somewhat more, where they do recognize that power is shifting. And, it's not that I don't have a problem with the program. It's like, I'm not against funding content creators as a concept or funding independent content creators as a concept.
Right.
Like, no serious person would be against that. We want people to get paid for their labor. We want people to be able to make a living. Like, there are programs like this on the right. So the issue is how it's run and who's running it. And that's the issue I think that we need to talk about, of like how it's run in terms of transparency and who's running it in terms of like who's involved in this program, like who's doing the vetting, what was the process for deciding which creators do get the funding, like that type of stuff. We just need more answers on all of that.
No, and I think the reason why they resist answers is because the answers will make them look bad.
Clearly, clearly.
Like if you're taking money from some billionaire, so you don't talk about Israel, a lot of people are going to not want to watch you anymore.
Well, we just don't know. Right. I mean, I think
hypothetically, I don't know. Hypothetically.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm so shocked, Mike, by the response to this, because I've said this before. But, well, I am, because I've covered a lot. I've done a lot of contentious stories. When I reached out to comment for Chorus, what I thought they would do, I didn't even plan on this Wired story going up, because I assumed, and I worked on it for like 2 months. I thought that they would call up the Washington Post and say, hey, because they would know all they knew every single detail. They knew the nature of my story. They knew that they knew everything in the story before it went up. I thought they would call up Washington Post or New York Times, where they got their original profile, and say, hey, we have this exciting new funding initiative for creators. We'd love to announce it with you under embargo. Here, you'll get access to the content creators. We'll tell about it. Yeah, we're being funded by this dark money group, but don't worry about that too much. Here's our exciting new program to fix the left messaging that we're doing. We're paying content creators. And that would have completely killed my story. Like, I wouldn't have been able to have then I would have tried, you know what I mean? Like, they would have already announced it, would have been public, like whatever. And honestly, it would have been, I would have been annoyed, but it would have led to transparency. So ultimately it's good. Instead, they've been doing this weird Trump strategy of like refusing to comment until the article goes up. The article comes up and they immediately go to like weird personal attacks and personal conspiracy theories and try to discredit me, like, as a person. And I just think that is revealing, because the Democrats used to not do stuff like that in the content creator world. I don't know what they were doing in the political world, but like, I've covered content creators. I wrote about like Obama's efforts with YouTubers back in the day. Like I've written very critically about the Democrats, and they've never done this type of personal smear campaign and threatening of lawsuits and things like that. Like, that is all very like Hallmark MAGA behavior. And so, I guess you're not surprised. It is a departure from how I've been treated when I've reported previous critical stories on the Democrats.
I think the reason is they're trying to treat you like me, or like a fellow content creator influencer, which is they're doing a parasocial attack.
Well, they've been saying that I'm an aspiring. They're like the real thing. So one of them was on TikTokers, and they say, ooh, like, she's just mad because she's not a successful influencer, and all she ever wants to be is an influencer. It's very funny, because I started as I started with an online audience. That's how I got into media. I have no background in journalism. I became popular as a blogger. I became popular through Tumblr.
Exactly.
So it's like very funny, because my audience actually pre-exists my journalism. But I don't know what to tell you other than like, no, I did not want to be part of this Democratic program. Like, I'm not writing this because I'm angry that I wasn't picked for Chorus. Like, I would never even apply to something like this, because it would be completely unethical as a journalist. So
I would never apply for it, because the moment anybody tells me that I have to run shit by some program, I know it's a controlling program. Like honestly, the contract provisions that I've seen are so unacceptable to me that I would never go anywhere near it. The moment they're like, oh, we have I think they mentioned that there was a Chorus policy document? Are you aware of this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I asked them, I said, what is they're talking about Chorus's policy agenda. I said, what is the policy agenda? What are you guys at, right? Like, these are all questions that we deserve answers to, and not just about Chorus, about all of these programs. Because let me be clear, the Democratic part, like the Democratic sort of donor establishment, as Teddy Schleifer is an amazing journalist at the New York Times who wrote a story recently that I highly suggest everyone read about a lot of these different efforts. And I covered in my YouTube video as well on my channel. There's a lot of efforts like Chorus coming up right now, and they're all funded by these billionaires. And, you know, Chorus is just symptomatic of this broader sort of movement in the Democratic space to co-opt the internet for messaging. And I think that we should advocate that all of them have a level of transparency.
Yeah, I mean, I think that transparency is the bare minimum. This isn't even a left-wing thing. This was John McCain. You know, like, this is Republicans used to like agree to this, like, you know, McCain-Feingold Act, like, you know, this like to now see, you can see how far the Overton window of this country has shifted right, where people who claim to be progressive are like, no, I'm accepting dark money. What even is dark money? And it's like, we've been talking about dark money since the 70s.
I have a video on my
70s.
channel that I posted a video with Anna Massolia, and I always mispronounce her name, even though she's an amazing person. She is one of the best reporters in the country covering dark money. She has covered it for years. She's a former investigations editor at Open Secrets. She and I made a video on my channel, which I highly suggest everyone watch. It went up Wednesday, and we break down dark money. And she talks about this Democrat strategy of leveraging dark money, fighting fire with fire. And she talks about how that often works out, aka it doesn't work out very well for them.
Yeah, because it's a 75-25 split. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work.
I encourage people to watch that video on my channel and listen to what Anna has to say, and to follow people like Anna online. She's Anna Lecta on Twitter. Because, like, these are the journalists that are doing the hard work.
You should tell her to come
on this stuff. I'm sure she would love to. Yeah. But, you know, these are the journalists doing the hard work covering this stuff. And I think that those are the voices that people should listen to in these conversations, not these like TikTokers that are calling, one of them called the NAACP a dark money group. Okay. She was like, oh, it's not a problem to take dark money. The NAACP is dark money. It's like, well, now you're just being ridiculous. Like, that is very silly. This we're talking about a iconic civil rights group that is not anything like your Democrat funding scheme. Like, it just, the whole thing is very silly.
A single Democratic aligned billionaire Zionist giving you secret money and no one knows who it is. Or it could even, like, let's be honest,
we don't know who gave them the money. And
I'm speculating.
That's the problem. Yeah.
It could also be foreign money. It could also be all sorts of
This is the problem
stuff
with dark money. Like, so, and I just, not to be like the promo queen, but like, really watch this interview with Anna that I did on my channel, because Anna talks about that foreign issue, and Anna has reported on these foreign influence campaigns. And I'm not doing like the Russia Gate type shit. Like, what I'm saying is that, like, there are so many problems with the system, and specifically the way that dark money is now just used to fund super PACs. Like, that link is the problem too. It's like, super PACs have to have a level of transparency, but then they say, oh, well, we just got all our funding from this dark money group. And the dark money group specifically crops up to fund the super PAC.
Exactly.
And it's just a black box and we have no idea where it goes. And so, and you know, another person I just want to say who's written very well on this issue is Tina Nguyen, at The Verge, and she had a piece this week about just like funding on the right versus the left. And she actually herself did like a Koch-backed right-wing media fellowship in college, so she's seen she's seen all this from the inside.
I mean, like, there's a book by Nancy McLean, who is a history professor at Duke, I believe. She wrote a book called Democracy in Chains, which really talks about the very beginning of these dark money efforts. And as they were a reaction to the student-led movements of the 60s and 70s on Vietnam and other issues, and how, you know, like, a lot of the programs and policies that we've seen implemented over the last 25 years are actually focused on containing those spaces, right? Containing universities, containing journalists, containing students and young people. And this is just part of that same process. Like, for example, the idea that we have student loans and high tuition was especially and specifically done by the right in order to put students in debt, so they would be worried about getting a job after school because they had all this debt to pay off. Like, this was actually a particular, that's the reason we have student debt. The reason we have student debt is because they don't want an educated proletariat. That's what the Republicans literally said. An educated proletariat is dynamite. I think this is a quote from Nixon's advisor. What's his name? God, I'm slipping my mind. But like, this is like what you're talking about. This is not something that's just being done accidentally because of interests. It is an active program where we have, as I said, Nancy McLean's book on James Buchanan, who is a Nobel Prize winner, and the correspondence he had with various right-wing billionaires, and that's what that book is really about, is talking about it. And you should all check it out.
I think that's such a great recommendation. We just need to get billionaire money out of politics. It needs to happen.
and that's kind of where I come to it, is the idea that we're going to win because there's a good billionaire out there to counter every bad billionaire. And there are some billionaires who are left leaning. Like, that does exist. I'm not.
One funds my journalism fellowship.
There's like 3 of them, and they give about 1% of the money that the right wingers do. They don't compare it to Elon Musk. They don't compare it to the Mercers. They don't compare it to all these billionaires that hand out, thousands of, they have endowed chairs at every university for right wing shit. The amount of money that's on the right will never compare. And
exactly.
The only way we win is we have people. And what concerns me about this story, and why I found it so important, was the idea that Democratic Party voters are being programmed to believe dark money is going to help them win is delusion. It is folly, and it's politically untenable, and it will actually usher in fascism, because we're going to be completely outgunned if the game is who has more billionaire money.
Well, yeah. That's why we need to fight billionaires and fight capitalism. And I think that's another thing, like when you look at these content creators and look at the commonalities between the content creators that have come out that are in the Chorus program, I don't see them, and maybe there's 1 or 2, but collectively criticizing capitalism and criticizing like these systems of economic exploitation and stuff like that. And so it's disappointing. Like, I wish that we would fund creators that do more of that work and criticize more of the systems. But again, that requires, we need transparency around these programs.
As somebody who was randomly picked by luck and good fortune and friends to have a platform that is self-sustaining, right? I only take money from my audience, and they get no promises in return. It's purely altruistic. To me, it was surprising how little these people were selling their souls for. What was the smallest creator payment that you saw?
$250 apparently was the smallest a month. But what I would say to these people, because some people are like, well, it's only $250 a month. Like, yeah, but like the reason they're participating in it is clearly not money. And people like David Pakman, like they don't need like 50 or whatever, $90,000 a year or whatever it adds up to. I think like those people are participating in it because of the ideological project behind it. I think the younger creator, or the smaller creators, the ones that are getting paid less, they're not all younger, are doing it because they want access. And when you look at a lot of these people's profiles, they have the platform that they do because of their access, and they're essentially access people. And so that's what they want, is they want the silly, video that they can make with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Like that is sort of like what they're trading on. And
oh God, this is such a good point. Thank you so much for bringing this up. It was such an error of me not to ask you about it, because that's exactly right. When you look at like Harry Sisson, why the fuck is somebody watching Harry Sisson on TikTok?
To be clear, he was not in the program as far as I could see.
I see that Harry wasn't, but I'm pretty sure, didn't he get like Barack Obama to come onto his like make TikToks
I mean,
with
look,
him?
Harry is an access, like Harry is like, and I like Harry personally, but like Harry exists to like, I mean, Harry's platform, I would say rather, is completely aligned with the centrist Democrat Party. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to drag Harry, because Harry, as far as I can tell, is not involved in this program. So I think we should stick to sort of like the people that are involved in the program. And I think that these programs, exists with the access. And if you look at some of the, like, for instance, I pulled up a video on that DNC
Folks, it looks like
meme, or I say DNC again as like shorthand, but this pro-Democrat meme page that one of them runs, that's the American Girl doll themed, pro-Democrat meme page. She's making these videos that are like, here I am with Chuck Schumer in the office. He's my bestie. Like, we love him. Meanwhile, she's like promoting them, like doing some sort of political activation that Chuck Schumer, if you go to the comments, like ultimately like voted against or something. Like,
right.
It's just, they're just doing like propaganda for the worst forces in the Democratic Party. And that's what sort of bothers me, is that they're giving these politicians a platform without criticism. For instance, when I had Ro Khanna on my, I was at the Stop Oligarchy tour or whatever thing here in LA, and we got to interview some content creators. So they let like content creators and journalists interview some of the politicians. The first thing I do is question Ro Khanna on COSA. He has a terrible record on tech. Okay, guys, we all need to push Ro Khanna to like get with the program and stop pushing all of these terrible laws. We need to get he needs to get his shit together on it. But like, I'm going to ask him those hard questions that are not just like, what's your favorite salad? Like how, I don't know, just these stupid things that just like launder these terrible people's reputation. You should challenge them, challenge politicians, challenge people in power.
That's the divide. Like, so the access journalism is exactly why, because people have these connections to the Democratic Party that are parasocial. Like, people identify with the party, right? And so when you have a beloved figure like Barack Obama, and he goes onto a platform with some creator, instantaneously, all the people that have some sort of connection or emotional connection to the identity of being a Democrat or Barack Obama are going to flock to that, and they're going to create, and that's a reward, and that will sustain you. And that will grow your platform. So it incentivizes people, from the logic of the algorithm and the parasocial nature of mass media, to create sycophancy, to create bubbles, to create, these spaces where you're paid millions of dollars to kiss Democratic Party ass. And then it creates epistemic closure. And the thing is, we can't win elections just with people who go gaga for Barack Obama. I'm sorry. Like, they're not enough. That's not enough of a reason for people to vote for a candidate. Barack Obama campaigned the hell out of himself for, Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, and they weren't able to win. We need people that are actually in touch with regular people's concerns around politics, because, like it or not, they actually vote on issues and on how they feel about the direction of the country. They don't vote as parasocial Taylor Swift stans. And that's what these accounts are about creating, is profiting from the stan culture of a small minority of the Democratic Party. But that's still millions of people, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the whole thing is ineffective at best. And it's just
effective,
and it's
for making
corrosive.
them rich. It's effective for making these
it's
individuals
effective
rich.
at making them rich. I mean, like, in terms of, despite what people say, like, I would prefer Democrats to win over Republicans, because the Republicans are completely psycho right now, and Trump is a fascist. So, like, I would have preferred the Democrats to be in power, because they're not going to do as evil things. But in some instances, they will do as evil things. But, I just think that, like, overall, this entire media strategy that the Democratic establishment seems to be running with is not going to work for the internet. And I say that because I
hope you're right.
Well, it's just not, like, it's just not going to work. What I do think that they will do is that they recognize this, and that they will pass these terrible, terrible tech laws where it won't matter. And they will ultimately control the internet, because they've successfully passed censorship laws that give them complete control. And so that's what we should focus on fighting.
And I think the one thing that is important to underline, and I hope you don't mind me making this connection, but a lot of these internet censorship and control laws were dead in the water until the genocide in Gaza.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what got to the TikTok ban passed.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah.
So it was. There wasn't this movement until the AIPAC, pro-Israel lobby saw the threat to their position.
And exactly. And the anti-LGBTQ movement is tied in with it. Like, let's not forget Marsha Blackburn, which, Richard Blumenthal and Marsha Blackburn, who co-sponsor the Kids Online Safety Act, Marsha Blackburn said we have to pass it to protect kids from the transgender in society. And this bullshit that, these people like Jonathan Haidt, who's now working for the Free Press for Barry Weiss, of course, is pushing, which is like, the internet is making all the kids mentally ill, and, the internet is destroying everyone's mental health. Like, I think what's destroying people's mental health is, like, first of all, 1 in 6 kids growing up below the poverty line, among many other things, and also witnessing a live stream genocide that will sort of affect your mental health.
Well, also just the destruction of public health, the destruction of third
and so
places,
many of these other things,
destruction of unions and solidarity, the destruction of spaces where we can all meet each other, and
so many things. I'm not discounting those things, but the point is it is not the internet. And if we do want to crack down on the very predatory behavior that these tech companies are engaged in, stop supporting these stupid laws that don't do that, like the age appropriate design code and all this bullshit. No, pass data privacy, pass, like, honestly, like, look at the win that Google just had this week. Look at the win that Google just had this week. They don't have to sell Chrome. They don't have to spin off Android. Like, they can just amass enormous amounts of power unchecked and engage in all of this anti-competitive behavior, and they're never held accountable.
Well, actually, you brought up this earlier as an aside, but we didn't go into it, which is, how has the internet censorship laws affected the UK? In particular, it's a fellow English-speaking country. It's very easy for us to go and see how these laws are being written and how they've affected the online space. How have internet censorship laws affected the UK, and how might that transfer over to the US?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up my piece for The Guardian. Hold on. Lorenz, The Guardian.
If you send it to me, I could cover up my face and show some of it.
Oh, sure.
Nobody gives a shit about me.
Hold on. Do you have an Android? Can I text you, or do you not? Do you have an Android or no?
No, I don't. I have an old iPhone.
You have an iPhone. Oh, okay, good. No, I was just going to try to text you on iMessage on my computer.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's not even loading. Just Google Taylor Lorenz, The Guardian. It's the first thing that comes up.
Okay, I will do that.
The UK's Online Safety Act is a license for censorship, is what it's titled. But I'll just read you a little bit the intro of it. I talk about some ridiculous, there's all these ridiculous examples. So over the past 2 weeks, this is right after so they have UCOSA, we have COSA. So
same fucking laws written.
It's very similar.
It reminds me of how they have these sample laws at the state level where they just,
which is happening right now. 11 states right now have these age verification laws. And by the way, the school cell phone bans are tied in with all of this. So I don't want to hear people, then I just, guys, we need to protect civil liberties, okay? And the school cell phone ban stuff, I know that it's a very unpopular position to take online, but it is tied up in all of this. And I think we need to talk about that as well. But so over the past couple weeks, as these restrictions rolled out, the UK blocked SpongeBob SquarePants GIFs, Spotify. You have to scan your face to listen to Spotify. Information about Joe Biden's police funding plan, footage of protesters getting assaulted by the police. It censored the post about registering for an up-and-coming leftist political party. Gamers cannot even tweak colors in games such as Minecraft without first importing their ID. Horrifying stuff. We have no free internet. They want to turn the entire internet into basically Netflix, where there's top-down editorial control. And we're seeing the effect of that in the UK, where also people are getting terrorism charges for posting, criticism of Israel and things like that.
Well, no, there's a group that they prescribed called Palestine Action, which threw paint.
As a terrorist group, yeah.
Yeah, they threw paint on a military jet or something, and it caused a minor amount of damage. And then they used that, civil disobedience, low-level vandalism, and they read it the most extreme possible interpretation of an anti-terrorism statute. And then they passed a law in Parliament to prescribe it as a terrorist group. And so if you say, I support Palestine Action in the UK, then you're a terrorist in the UK. They arrest you.
Well, we thankfully have the First Amendment, which is one of the best things about America.
Well,
one of the few good things. Well, exactly. Not for long, because it's being dismantled by both political parties. So I just want people to get involved. Call your state representative. Tell them, what are you doing to fight against this stuff? When you see the word child safety or child mental health in these laws, please recognize that's not what it's about. Please use your brain for 2 seconds. I did
an entire video, which you can watch on my channel. I also wrote a 7,000 word takedown of these like protecting child influencer laws, which a lot of people have promoted, saying, we have to protect the child influencer law, you know, and so here's this good law. And then the stupid media just regurgitates that PR spin. When you actually read these laws, what's in them is quite nefarious. And it's all about censorship and control of speech. So I know that like free speech or whatever, it's like it got coded as this like right-wing issue, but actually they don't give a shit about free speech. Elon Musk helped write the language of the Kids Online Safety Act, okay?
Right.
Like none of them care about free speech. But the left needs to start prioritizing free speech online and talking about free speech online and protecting civil liberties online. And they need to get involved with organizations like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Fight for the Future, the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, which Albert runs, which is amazing, which my t-shirt's from. Like all of these organizations that are doing really good work to help shape tech policy, because this tech policy is really important.
And we have to disrupt their power of the private, groups as well, not just worry about the state, but also the fact that, big data being in the hands of Google is just as threatening to my freedom and safety as it being in the hands of the NSA. And they're oftentimes one and the same anyway.
Well, it is the same. They're going to get that's how, and I think actually 404 Media and Wired have both done really good reporting on like these data brokers, these predatory data brokering industry, and all of the private data, commercial data. I have an entire YouTube series also on data privacy. I published the first episode last month, and I just published another episode, I think like last Friday, on like the data brokering industry. But it's, you have like Aura Ring doing a partnership or whatever, partnering with Palantir. Like it's all getting really dystopian really fast. And we need people on the left to start caring about tech policy.
And it's important to understand that like the guys, and this is where it gets kind of like, I almost feel like Alex Jones, but the truth is stranger than fiction, because the people that are in charge of things like Palantir, they have some extreme far right fascist libertarian fascist, like you would think that this is like
they're not
a contradiction.
Libertarians. Let's not smear the libertarians.
Well, it's a contradiction, because they're like, what they really want is to dismantle the government oversight and create fiefdoms around these capitalists, right? Like they want to use the state to reinforce their power, their private power.
Well, it's like what Gil Duran has been covering really well, of like the network state thing.
Exactly, the network state thing. Exactly. Under, what was his name? Yavin, the fucking mold.
Curtis Yarvin.
Curtis Yarvin, thank you. And the mold bug blog. And the thing is, I've been covering these kind of guys for so long, and they used to be funny. But now with Trump, they found their,
but with the
vehicle.
Democrats too, guys. The Democrats. They are also like the Democrats and Republicans. There is no daylight between them when it comes to this bullshit child online safety censorship stuff. And that's what we need. Like Gavin Newsom is out promoting things like the age appropriate design code and all this bullshit. Like these are all bad laws that we should challenge. And we need people on the left to get organized and fight against these laws. And it's hard because people are like, it's like they always name them like it's like the Patriot Act, right? Or the America Act. It's like, well, how could you be against the Patriot Act? Like, are you not a patriot? It's like the same thing where it's like, how could you be against the Protecting Children in America Act or whatever? It's like, because that's not what any of this is about. And, we just...
I mean, this is really the consequences of being in the political wilderness, which I feel like a lot of left wingers, I think they're having a little bit of a moment where we don't recognize just how far from power we actually are, how compromised the Democratic Party establishment is, how we have to fight a vicious intra-party struggle over the next 3 years so that when we do get a presidential nominee, whether it's a Democrat or a third party that comes out of nowhere, it has to be someone who is aware of these situations and actually has a bold agenda that could arrest this fascist decline. It can't just be, well, we'll vote for, Barack Obama's VP. We have to have somebody who has a plan and a program to counter this influence, to build up an American, socialist or social democratic movement that could actually arrest the causes of all of this right-wing retrenchment, and who will break up monopoly power, break up these big accumulations, we'll do trust busting. Google should be smashed into 100 companies.
Where's Lena Khan?
Praise Lena Khan. But I think Lena Khan doesn't go far enough. The one thing that I will say about Trump is he opened up the door to nationalizations with his Intel 10% share. You know, the government should be taking property from these people.
I don't know. I'm like not. I mean, look. I think they should. I think there should be more competition in the market. And I don't know that I want a government-controlled tech ecosystem. I want a free and open. I want, honestly, what libertarians claim that they want, which is a free and open market for, you know, all that stuff. I think, like, you know, the libertarians are funny because it's like on some things they're really good, and then on some things you're like, oh my god, because like the police stuff is another thing. Like they do a lot, like Reason and these libertarian orgs are also very anti-police, and they're pro-sex work in ways that I think are really good. They're really good on certain tech policies, and then they want to like turn the healthcare into like a stock market or something.
My general feeling about libertarians is that they tend to prop up when Republicans are out of power as a way of kind of like laundering the reputations of the right, as like, look, there, you know, there's some social liberalism
there are more principled people and there are less principled people,
but
and I think some of them
the right is in power, like right now.
I don't see that. No, because the libertarian groups are some of the only ones that are fighting with like the actual leftists on like tech policies.
Yeah, so, I get you on this stuff.
We should like Shoshana at R Street, which is a libertarian think tank, has like done great work on age verification. So like, look, I think like we need to form bonds with certain niche political movements where we can. Overall, I just want the left to take tech policy more seriously, get involved in these tech laws. If you don't like what you're seeing online, like we just need to fight back. And I do have to hop in 2 minutes, but you
already went over. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for doing that.
Also, can I just say one other thing really quickly? I just want to say another thing too, because I think like part of fighting fascism is also fighting back against the dismantling of public health, which happened primarily under Biden, actually. But we are entering another COVID surge, and everybody should wear a mask up in any sort of shared air spaces, because I think public health is very, like the dismantling of public health and RFK, what he's doing to restrict vaccine access and restrict healthcare and all of this stuff is so intertwined with the rise of fascism and eugenics on the right and the left. And so I think, you know, we all need to sort of fight for public health. That's totally separate, or it's not really totally separate, but I think it's like, that's another issue that if I'm in front of people, I want to make sure that I speak on.
All right. Well, thank you, Taylor. I really appreciate the Wired article. Keep being yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Keep being yourself and keep going wherever the truth lies. We need people like you. Everybody, I pinned in the chat a couple of your links. I have your Substack and usermag.co.
I have a Patreon.
And you have a Patreon as well.
Finally.
Okay.
So yeah, you won't. Yeah.
We'll spam those. We'll spam those in the chat. Don't worry.
Please.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Taylor. I appreciate it. And
thank you.
Mods, can you find the Patreon link? I didn't see it.
It's just Taylor Lorenz Patreon. It's like if you click on one of my most recent videos, it's like the top of the YouTube description.
All right, beautiful.
I just launched it like a few months ago, so it's getting up and running. So
no, I mean, hey, listen, I get it. You need to get that base. You need a couple thousand people that are going to be with you through thick and thin. So, all right, thank you so much, Taylor.
Bye,
we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Thanks for coming on. Bye. All right, chat. There you have it, Taylor Lorenz. I told you, chat. Is Taylor not exactly what I said? And I love it. I love people like that. Like, that's the type of people that I love having in my friend group, who are just strong personalities, sharp, intelligent, have a perspective, not afraid to push it, not afraid to argue it. And she's totally right. I think I agree with her on 99% of things. Okay. And she's right about the way they're trying to control the internet. Like, she's right. Like the idea that, listen, I think that that screen, I am always online, right? I always have a screen within arm's reach. I think most of us are getting to that point, right? I do it for my work, so I'm in front of screens even more than I probably want to be. But that being said, they're not trying to do this stuff to protect kids, okay? They're not doing this because they want to protect our, spaces. And also, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you want me to have more interviews just like this, please consider supporting the stream by subscribing. We have a hype train going on right now. It is September. Make sure you get a 30% discount if you get a multi-month sub, or you upgrade the tier of your sub right now. You can get a massive discount. Save yourself money, support the stream, and promote having actual good newsmakers and content creators on this platform by showing me that's the type of content that you want. So I love Taylor. Taylor's great. The thing that I would say the most about people like Taylor is that we need people that have a journalistic ethic. I have a political perspective. I see my job to educate you guys so that when Taylor makes a story about dark money, you know what dark money means. So that when we read the work of journalists like Taylor, we could actually provide a lens of interpretation to help understand it. We could read between the lines. We can extend the purely factual information that Taylor presents and provide our own editorial spin and contextualization. But we need people like Taylor fighting that fight, publishing this stuff in order for my side of the commentary world to work, which is why supporting her is so important, why I love her personality. She continues to cause good trouble, which I love. And every single person that's fighting her right now is a piece of total shit and a scumbag. Have I read Dark Money by Jane Mayer? Yes, I have. That's a classic. Dark Money's a classic. I would call that more like lib left, and I would say that Democracy in Chains is a little bit more left wing, a little bit more. It takes Dark Money and kind of extends it even further with more scholarship. And the libertarians, they hated Dark Money. They hated Democracy in Chains, which is why, like, I disagree with Taylor about the libertarians a bit, because, like, I'm sure she's right that there are a few principled stuff. Like, what's that guy named? The Balco guy who's like anti-cop. There are a few principled libertarian individuals, but libertarianism as a movement in the United States is really about empowering people like Elon Musk, like the Mercers, like the Kochs. Like, it is, as a movement, it largely exists to remove state restriction. And maybe I'm more of a old school socialist than Taylor, in the sense that I look at China. They've got a lot of competition in China, because the Communist Party sits above everybody and encourages competition because they understand that it increases productivity. It increases the productive forces. They don't just let some, powerful group of capitalists control shit. They smash things with hammers. They restrict things. They nationalize things. That's good. You just have to have the right people in charge. And that's where democracy comes in. And also, I would say this about masking. I feel that masking 100% is, there's nothing wrong with it. Especially when we talk about the next topic, protesting ICE. You want me to wear a mask? This will get me to wear a fucking mask. Why the fuck do I have this? Like, what the fuck?
We have some great...
What the fuck? I lost my video. Here it is. We watched the military parade yesterday, chat. Thank you guys and gals and non-binary pals for all the support. We are dangerously close to 6,420 subs. We are currently at 6,278 sub points. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting it. I appreciate you. Golo Wolver, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Appreciate you, brother. Socialism or barbarism?
ICE agents have been around all over Southern California. This weekend was marked with absolute violence.
I'm tired of you taking our children! I'm tired of you taking the parents!
We are tired, sick and tired of these attacks that are dividing and separating our families. What the state fears the most is organization. I don't mean an organization, but the concept of organization.
Thank you for the 10
people,
tier
the working
ones.
class people fighting back as a class.
Now they're using tech that can identify your gait, body dimensions, clothing worn. So that means you need to get girdles. You need to get lifts or boots with high heels. You need to get wigs. You need to get masks. You need to put pebbles in your shoes. You need to drag your left foot. Anything they can do, we can do better. Temporary tattoos. Anything they can do, we can do better. Anything they develop, we will sabotage.
Hey, get the fuck out!
It's important for them to break LA. If they break LA, they can break any community in this country. We are Unión del Barrio. We are a proud member and founding member of the Community Self-Defense Coalition. Because it's such a huge, coordinated attack against our communities, have to assume at least one of you here is here for the wrong reasons. So if there is a pig in the room, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, we're not doing anything illegal. We're on the streets from 5:30 in the morning till past midnight, and it's been 7 days a week ever since these attacks have started. So people are putting it.
Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Thank you for all the support.
Group 2 will be, just take Maple straight down.
Remember, chat, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the Hype Train Conductor badge next to their name, which is a golden locomotive. Then you get to keep a purple locomotive. And I call that the get out of bad jail free card. Get out of jail free card if you get that Hype Train Conductor badge. So for as little as 11 subs or 1,001 bits, you can get the get out of jail free card at least once.
County King, then another group San Pedro, and then another group on Central. Those will be the 4. All right, we do have the magnets on the radio, so let's get those real quick, and then vámonos.
It really does work.
That we see a little suspicious,
when I see someone with a bad take, but they're a Hype Train Conductor, I'm like, I assume good faith. I'm just being honest. Like, if I see someone and they're a tier 3 and they have a fucking Hype Train badge, I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe I'm misreading that. Maybe I need to slow down. You know? Is it fair? No. Is it rich guy privilege? Yes. Big Carbon with the 20 bomb. But I'm being honest. I'm being transparent. Dedham's subscribing for 18 more months, or 18 months with the Prime. Chat, did you know that when you subscribe with your Prime, that it means that the person you're Prime subbing with is your favorite streamer? Because it means you come in, you watch them all the time. And so when your Prime sub comes off cooldown, when you give them your Prime sub, it means they're your favorite. So what I'm trying to say is Dedham's agrees. I am Dedham's favorite streamer. There you have it. There you have it. Have you Gopnik on? I am Dedham's and I endorse this match. There you have it. There you have it. It is 100% Dedham's. Vio said, no, that's me. I got the Prime. I got the Prime sub. Sorry. We
do the patrols, which is helpful in our immediate neighborhoods so that we know if there is or isn't activity. But to have eyes and ears all over, not even the city, but all over Southern California is extremely helpful. Before this started, we had maybe like 200,000 followers at the most. Now it's over 500,000. People send us information all the time. I'm checking, I'm just quickly looking at it now. We're in South Central LA. We're at a high school where I teach. Right now, there's no kids here. It's summer school's over. And so right now, this neighborhood, like many neighborhoods across the country, are thinking and wondering and are anxious about, back to school day. And so we are preparing not only like lesson plans and typical things that teachers have to do, but also preparing for the possibility of attacks against our students. We'll be patrolling around the school on foot and in our cars. And in case we do see any type of activity, we will have a plan. Ice at Olvera Street. I'm gonna go talk to whoever's organizing whatever's happening. What's going on, man? How are you? Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too, man.
Somebody called and said that they thought they saw something.
No, we didn't. So we got a false report. A security officer was spreading a false rumor that ICE was gonna be here.
Do you all have our number just in case?
Absolutely.
¿Quieres cereal?
Now I have to gift 1 billion subs in Vio's chat. New Vio Dark Money Funder. Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. Guys, is anybody in chat part of this group? I should have asked this earlier, but is anybody in chat part of this group here in LA? If not, if you're interested, you should definitely sign up. I should just drop by. What do they need? What do they need? I'm gonna check out their website later.
Este? Okay. I would say being a father probably has made me a better organizer than the other way around, just because it's just a constant reminder why we struggle and why we do what we do. Agua. Gracias, Papa. One day when we're no longer here and he'll be here and maybe his children, they'll have a better life than what we had and what our parents had, and etc. So we're fighting for the next 7 generations and he's next up. So this little guy's probably been to more protests already than most adults.
Thank you for all all the support, guys. Appreciate you. Plastic Chairs just joined the Order of Romeo at their 60th month. Plastic Chairs, welcome.
Why the Home Depot? There have been documented kidnappings on their premises at 14 of the 15 stores. There was a kidnapper inside of the store chasing one of our brothers. They thought they were going to get away with it. But are we going to let them do that? No. We are officially telling the people of Los Angeles and everywhere else, do not spend a single penny at the Home Depot. Boycott! 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 Boycott!
Unión del Barrio is a militant organization. We think that we have to be to defend our people.
You don't know where your manager is?
They're trying to control this.
Don't take it personal.
And I am absolutely determined and committed to making sure that this grows to the point where it's a national movement where people everywhere are defending themselves.
Keep an eye out. If you see something suspicious, please call. Let us know so we can go and back them up, all right? Thank you.
You seeing anything? These people are fascists, and so we have to expect them to act like fascists. And to us, we're revolutionaries. We know the antidote to a fascist.
Okay, Rosecrans. Wait. So if we could just post Rosecrans, be on the lookout.
It is impossible to do the amount of work necessary on your own. Even just two people can do a hell of a lot more than two individuals who are not working together.
Estamos haciendo vigilancia en este momento, patrullaje para en contra la migra. We're patrolling right now for ICE. If you see anything suspicious of ICE, we're just patrolling the neighborhood right now, okay?
Thank you,
For ICE activity, just patrolling the neighborhood right now, okay?
For 5 months straight, our communities have been organizing in our streets to identify the agents while they're in our hood. The majority come out after 8. White, Charger. If I were to put a scale to it, I would say maybe 7 out of 10 stars on that one. Or maybe not stars. 7 out of 10 thumbs down.
This is this morning.
Nope, I'm not getting out of the car. Not getting out of the car, and I'm not opening the window. I don't want you to kidnap my neighbors, man.
We'll stop it there, but long story short, nothing happened. He was able to go. He did all the right things. He did all the right things. Smart, lock those doors. He knew he had legally done nothing wrong. They, on the other hand, did violate the law. They didn't have a warrant, but they quickly tried to get into his private vehicle. The tactics have been changing, and so we have to be up to date. That's why we constantly change this presentation. What we're seeing now, snatch and grab. Somebody sitting at a bus stop, the lady selling tamales, the guy selling tacos. So for the coalition, it's been very frustrating to us.
Okay, comrade following black SUV, masked man. How many men inside?
It seems like there's two, one in the front and then there's someone in the back.
Let me see if I can get you some backup over there. And you're on the 110, right? Let me just quickly.
Okay, so as we know, today marks 30 days since the military assault on Los Angeles started. We're peaceful people, but we're not going to allow you all to kidnap us, to beat us, to brutalize us. We're not going to allow it. We will fight back.
Today's the first day of school. We are patrolling around different schools in the community. You know what? Take Jorge as well. We're patrolling, making sure none of the enemies are near us, so we'll be around. October 1st is when they're going to release the money of the big, beautiful bill. So that's when we can anticipate a lot more activity here and everywhere.
If we've been fighting for more than 500 years on this land, what the hell makes you think we're going to quit now?
Unión del Barrio calls on our community to continue the resistance and to fight back. Patrol your...
Notice how it's a multicultural resistance. You see Mexican Americans, you see Filipino Americans, you see Korean Americans, you see Caucasian Americans, you see Black Americans, you see people of all backgrounds coming together to stand up to ICE, shoulder to shoulder.
Neighborhood, barrio por barrio, cuadra por cuadra. Esta es nuestra tierra, esta es nuestra lucha. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. Who keeps us safe? We keep us
From a Chilean that experienced the 2019 police oppression, I wrote an in-depth protesting guide during the LA protests. Ooh, this looks really good, brother. Oh my God, this seems so interesting. How reliable is this information? Which masks are suitable for tear gas? How should you dress for a protest? How should I set up my phone for a protest? What should a protest first aid kit include? What is the buddy system? How to respond to kettling and other police encapsulation tactics? These are police encirclement tactics if you're speaking in English instead of encapsulation, but it's fine. It works. What do I do with my phone before and after the protest? Wow. I think I want to say I have either a P100. I don't know if it's full face mask though. I might need to get the P100 60923 because it doesn't have eye protection, which is what you need. Respirator plus goggles. Full face protection. Let me see what I have. Right now I have a P95. Yeah, I think it's a wait, hold on. No, it's not this. More like this. It's a vapor cartridge. I might have to compare this. Can I link it? Let me read it before I link it. But thank you, it looks pretty good. Republicans are part of the abundance movement? You don't say. The abundance movement is backed by Republican governors. Enough said, Democrats should be anywhere near it. No shit. Wow, Mike was right again? I can't believe it.
Techniques that can be used to defend or protect yourself against high acoustic pressure projectors. And so the simplest technique is to use distance. Farther away from the source that you get, the quieter it gets. And the sound pressure will drop 6 decibels every time you double your distance from the source. So distance is great, but sometimes you don't have the flexibility or ability to get away from it or get away quickly enough. Another technique is to use earplugs. These are just standard foam plugs that insert in your ears. They're very good sound obstruction methods, and they're disposable and very lightweight. You can put them in your pocket. Another technique is just a standard pair of shop headphones. Use these whenever you're going to be using a saw or something that generates a lot of noise and you want to protect your hearing. Very inexpensive. Another technique is to use electronic headphones. Now this doesn't follow the same sort of phase interference methodology that, say, Bose uses in its acoustic headphones, where you're actually producing a negative phase sound to nullify the sound pressure around you. What these are is simply very good mechanical headphones that include both a speaker and a microphone that allow you to dial up your ability to detect ambient sound up to 4 times as loud as your normal hearing. You can actually hear better with these, but they reach a threshold, and so above a certain point, they won't amplify anymore. So they protect your ears from loud sounds, but allow you to hear the ambient sound. These Howard Light headphones cost about $60, and they're frequently used by shooters at a range. So you can hear ambient sounds around you, the instructors, other people on the range, but at the same time you protect your hearing. Another technique is to use a face shield. There might be some ability with a simple face shield to protect you because it may, in fact, deflect some of the sound pressure away from your ears. We're going to test that today. And finally, we're going to test a polycarbonate riot shield, see if that has the same effect as this.
I think one of the things that he's underestimating is anything that's more stealthy is better, because the more gear you have that's apparent on a quick glance, the more attention you're gonna get from other forms of police control. So like if you are coming out there with big face shields and big headphones and a lot of, like, you know, say plate carriers and shit, they're gonna be shooting at your balls. You know, they're going to be shooting rubber bullets at you. They're going to be shooting beanbags at you. They're going to be rushing to try to grab you out of the crowd. You want to avoid the more stuff that you could do. That's like for example, the foam earplugs, like I could put my hair down. No one sees shit, right? So that's something to consider. You don't want to have the tank build.
And so in order to do the tests, what we're going to do is set this up outside. And at a distance, I'm going to have Alex stand away from the projector. And we're going to see how close, at a very low setting, he can comfortably get with certain levels of protection and see what the effectiveness of these different techniques turns out to be. So let's get this set up outside and we'll start the demonstration. All right, we've got it set up now. So what I've done is I've turned this way down to only 10% output. Obviously, I don't want to hurt anybody. And Alex is standing about 20 meters away, and we're going to have him approach this until he gets to the point where he says, I can't stand this anymore, and I'll turn it off. Right now, he's not wearing anything. Normal, natural hearing. So here we go.
Is everyone awake? Everyone's awake now.
All right, so we have a little marker, nothing. All right.
Okay, I want to get the conclusion.
The right equipment. Those electronic headphones, wonderful in the shop. I love them and I use them all the time now, but definitely you wouldn't want to use them if you're going to be exposed to this. So the system simply either isn't sensitive enough or it isn't quick enough to deal with the chirp. That might be part of the problem, but in any case, definitely you wouldn't want to use those. The portable headphones, the little earplugs, are certainly nice because you can carry a pocket full of them. And the regular headphones for about $5 or $6, you can use them for a number of different purposes, and we're actually the most effective method. The best method is stay out of situations where you're going to be facing one of these devices. They're obviously potentially harmful. They could be a little dangerous if you get very close. And I'm just going to advise everybody to stay safe, try to stay out of trouble, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.
Guys, stay out of situations where the cops are oppressing you. Great advice, man. Well, thank you so much. So chat, we had Taylor Lorenz on, which reminds me of somebody that we need to trash, which is Edward Isaac Dovere. This guy is, without a doubt, one of the most disgusting Zionist, propagandist, anti-left reporters in the entire mainstream media. And he tried to boost New Yorker Festival invites influencer who justified October 7th attacks as speaker. Headed to the New Yorker Festival. It doesn't matter if rapes occurred on October 7th. It doesn't change the dynamic for me. If you don't know who Edward Isaac Dovere is, I'm jealous of you. Unfortunately, he's an incredibly connected reporter. And then I said, this is just slander. He specifically denounced any sexual violence being committed. He was saying that even if Hamas committed crimes on October 7th, it wouldn't make apartheid legitimate. 9 likes with 15K views. 9 likes, 15K views. That's crazy. I think everybody should let Isaac know what they think of his slander attempt. Oh boy. Okay. We made fun of David Pakman. We talked about Graham a bit. Oh, David Pakman raging.
Very interesting story here. I am a little bit obsessed with it. So
Taylor Lorenz, I forgot to bring up David Pakman with Taylor Lorenz. God damn it.
At Wired Magazine,
She's
really
so
breaking some significant news here about an incubator program funded by a Dem-aligned dark money super PAC called the 1630 Fund. So let's put her reporting up on the screen, and I want to break down very specifically what she reports out in this piece. So her headline here is, a dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. So the TLDR here is that this incubator named Chorus was set up by Brian Tyler Cohen, who you guys probably know is a big resistance creator on YouTube, giant channel, 4 million subscribers, etc. And a guy who used to be an aide for John Yarmouth, who was a congressman from Kentucky. So they set up this thing. And the way they fund it is by taking money from this billionaire-backed dark money super PAC called the 1630 Fund. That fund has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to back Democratic candidates and causes. It's very influential. It's very well known. You can read a bunch of reporting about it. But because it is a dark money group, their donors are kept a secret, okay? So 90 plus Democratic Party aligned influencers were selected for this program. They're paid anywhere from $250 a month, which y'all are really selling out for the cheap if you're on that plan, but we'll get back to that, all the way up to $8,000 a month. It has everybody from small creators I certainly had never heard of. Granted, I'm not on TikTok that much, so I'm not trying to like besmirch the level of their influence, but all the way up to people like David Pakman, who has a multi-million sub channel, who is already been quite successful and has been around for longer actually than we have. David Pakman's been in this game for a long time, so it's like everybody from the small and the brand new, all the way up to the David Pakmans of the world. So specifically, Taylor was able to talk to people who were approached about participating in this program, some of whom were put off by the terms of the contract and said, this is not something that I can be a part of. She was given access to some of the group chats that were flying around between some of the people who did end up in the cohort, who were also expressing concerns about some of the terms of the contract. And she also apparently was able to get her hands on the contract themselves. And so here's specifically what the contracts that it says were viewed by Wired, what they indicated in terms of restrictions on the way these individuals can operate. So according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagement with government officials or political leaders. So one of the creators who was approached about participating in Chorus said to Taylor, she said, quote, if I want to work with another politician, I have to fully collaborate with Chorus. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them. So that was one of the concerns. Also, it says creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance and in writing per the contract. So if they want to support a candidate, Graham Plattner, let's say in Maine, they have to get approval from Chorus before they can say anything supportive of any sort of candidate or campaign. In addition, the contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standard partnership disclosures, declaring that creators will not publicize their relationship with Chorus or tell others that they're members of the program, quote, without Chorus's prior express consent. A screenshot from a slideshow was shared with Wired following this article's publication by Graham Wilson, a lawyer working with Chorus, that offers several talking points if a member of the cohort wanted to discuss Chorus publicly. So they're expressly saying,
Did David Pakman need another 8K a month this bad? No, he is a Zionist. David Pakman is a mega Zionist. He believes in Israel's right to do genocide. He believes in Israel's right to dispossess Palestinians. He believes in this evil shit. He's just an ideological enemy. Not every enemy you have was bought and paid for. Sometimes they're just a motherfucking enemy. Sometimes they're just a motherfucking enemy.
Can't talk about being in this program and certainly can't disclose the dark money funding of this program. They also forbid creators from disclosing the identity of any funder and give Chorus the ability to force creators to remove or correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus organized event. One other piece that I thought was really noteworthy, Sagar, is it also says you are not allowed to criticize any of the other influencers who are part of the Chorus program. So, for example, if you have a beef over David Pakman either not saying anything about Gaza or in the early days of the genocide, he was actively defending Israel. If you have a problem with that and you're an influencer in this cohort and you want to talk about it, you are banned from doing that. So you have a combination of a lot of restrictions on the way that you operate, having to run things through this Chorus program. You have the forced secrecy around it, that you're not allowed to disclose Chorus, and you're certainly not allowed to disclose the funding source of Chorus. And then you also, on top of that, have these requirements that they check in, that they go to these daily messaging meetings to, get the view of Chorus. And we're going to show you some of the responses from the creators themselves about the revelation that they're part of this program. And, they actually affirm that, yes, much of this is in fact true.
The RFK clips are wild. All right, hold on. Let's ADHD for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, but this is not what she has said publicly. She has said...
I'm not surprised about that.
So you're saying she's lying?
Yes. Every conversation I had with her, there were witnesses.
Get this straight. This is the same person that less than a month earlier, you stood next to her and described her as unimpeachable and you had full confidence in her, and that you had full confidence in her scientific credentials. And in a month, she became a liar?
Yeah, you should ask her what changed. And by the way, a month ago, you were voting against her. Oh, because you thought she was either incompetent, ineligible, or unsuited to the task.
I voted against her because I was afraid she was going to bend the knee to you and Donald Trump. And it looks like she didn't bend the knee, so you fired her. Look, you're putting America's babies' health at risk, America's seniors' health at risk, all Americans' health at risk, and you should resign.
Like, look at the Republicans, man. Like, the reason why I'm so hard on Democrats is because how are you losing to this?
And I'm approaching this as a doctor, not as a senator. I am concerned about children's health, seniors' health, all of our health. And I applaud you for joining the president in a call for radical transparency. Thank you for that. I said yesterday, I believe it, that President Trump deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed. If he had been President Obama, he would have gotten it. But because of Operation Warp Speed, forcing the federal government to come to a vaccine development within 10 months when others said it couldn't be done, we saved millions of lives globally, trillions of dollars. We reopened economies, an incredible accomplishment. Mr. Secretary, do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That was phenomenal.
Now, the reason why, wait, hold on, hold, wait, hold.
Let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID.
Wait,
that was a statement.
I did not say that.
Okay, then let me ask, because you also were
Senator, I just want to make clear, I did not say that.
We'll check the record. That's a question of fact. You also said that you were also, as lead attorney for the Children's Health Defense, you engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. Again, it surprises me that you think so highly of Operation Warp Speed when, as an attorney, you attempted to restrict access. Now, let me ask.
I'm happy to explain why.
I have 3 minutes and 30 seconds left.
We are in a period where even the most disgusting rat fuckers in the history of the planet are like, okay, now it's started to get weird. Bill Cassidy is a fucking right-wing psycho, but I think he's also a doctor. And I think there's a little bit of like contradictions between being a Republican and being a doctor. And he doesn't like RFK Jr. because he thinks RFK Jr. is Lysenko 2.0. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mangrove Creative, perfectly put. He's like, this guy's a fucking idiot and a charlatan. And I may think that poor people shouldn't have to pay for their health care, but I think science is real. Like, we are in deep shit if Bill Cassidy, a senator from Louisiana, is saying he's a fucking lunatic.
How come there's radioactive shrimp at Walmart? And he'd be like, well, because I'm trying to make them bigger so I can ride them. We're going to join the shrimp games. We're going to chase dolphins on giant shrimp. We're going to wrangle herds of dolphins out into the ocean with my giant shrimp. I'm going to roll in like Poseidon on a wave. You better look out for me. I'm going to be like Medusa, but it's just going to be shrimp. Godzilla-sized shrimp, and I'm just going to be blowing across the Atlantic Ocean at speeds you can never imagine because my shrimp is so big. Now, I tell you to not tell Cheryl, but you can tell Cheryl I actually got her own shrimp. It's going to be me and her riding like king and queen across the ocean. We're going to be ruling the 7 seas, me and Cheryl, the king and queen of healthcare.
So that's why there is radioactive shrimp at Walmart.
For the long time, I thought making fun of RFK Jr.'s voice was kind of ableist because I thought it was like, something that happened to him genetically, that it was just like he was born with that voice. And so I used to feel really bad whenever somebody would make fun of his voice, and I'd be like, that's kind of fucked up, man. The guy, he was born like that, you know, he can't control that. Then I found out he got that voice from being a heroin addict. So in other words, he was a rich fail-son freak doing so much meth and heroin that it blew out his vocal cords somehow. And it's like, yeah, if a rich fail-son does so many drugs that it affects his voice, I'm making fun of that shit. I'm sorry. Call me a bad person if you want, but nah, fuck that guy. He smoked out on foil. Yeah, exactly. We are fucked. We are so fucked. Well, chat, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you thank you, Taylor Lorenz, for coming on. The vibes were so good. She's so funny, man. I love Taylor, man. Taylor's great. Taylor is fucking great. All right. Well, just so you guys feel a little bit better, I'm going to play you out with something really amazing, really great, the best. It lifted my spirits.
The army and the people are the foundation of victory. Now marching forward is the militia formation. The militia women are from the major wartime counter-Japanese base areas across China. During the War of Resistance, Chinese people, regardless of their gender or ages, acted as one in safeguarding their homes. The red jeans have passed on from one generation to another. In the new era, the militia forces provide backup services during peaceful time.
China has been contributing to maintaining world peace. The peacekeeping force formation is marching towards us. China is the largest troop contributing country for peacekeeping among the permanent members of the UN Security Council. Having participated in UN peacekeeping operations for 35 years, the Chinese peacekeeping forces have confronted daunting challenges and fulfilled their missions. The forces have guarded world peace without hesitating to sacrifice their lives, and demonstrated through their action how China assumes its responsibility as a major power, making great contributions to building a community with a shared future for humanity.
So look at the UN peacekeepers and compare that to, I mean, this is just.
Company's second.
With majestic bearing, the 7 combat groups of the armament formations, led by the Banner Formation, are ready to be revealed. Once utilizing inferior weapons during the War of Resistance, the PLA has accelerated to develop new weapons, including massively deployed killer heavyweight weapons, thus being better equipped to deter enemies and win the war.
Combat unit left South Vietnam in August of infantry squad vehicle.
Hold on, chat. And here's the marching. I found the marching. Let me see if I can find the army. Yeah, let's do like to like, okay? Army versus army, all right? There it is.
Formation is marching towards us. As the earliest armed forces established and led by the party, the PLA army fought the enemies fearlessly and achieved immortal feats through countless battles. In the new era, the army is transforming itself fast to operate in multiple domains.
Now coming is the Navy formation. Breaking the waves and navigating to the deep blue, the PLA Navy has comprehensively strengthened it.
Even they're like, why is the formation so bad? Why didn't they do it by height? That's what you're supposed to do. You put the tallest guys in the front and then you sort by height. You dress and you cover. You make sure you're lined up with the guy in front of you and you lined up with the guy beside you and you line up. Like, what? Like, why are they so out of step? Look at the... What is going on here? Oh, no. I mean, it's the 250th anniversary. You would think they would at least try, right?
Its maritime deterrent and combating capabilities to safeguard peace and stability at the sea, moving fast to become a world-class naval force.
Coming up next is the Air Force formation.
Okay, we did see this yesterday, chat. I'm sorry. I wanted to show you the G part where G gets on the portable G. He already did it. He already did it, didn't he? Okay. Hold on. Or is that at the end? I don't remember. Hold on. He got into his car. Oh, there it is. He got into the G-mobile. If you didn't see this yesterday.
In a typical back and forth, President Xi says, "Salute to you, comrades." And the soldiers reply, "Hail to Chairman." The president then says, "Comrades, thank you for your hard work." To which the soldiers reply, "We serve the people."
It looks like they all have to take a shit. I don't even need to say anything, you know? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even need to say anything. This is why America doesn't do parades. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. And I'll see you tomorrow, normal time, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to be going on before I go. Fuck. I almost forgot, but I didn't forget. In 1 hour, I will be going on to the I'm going on Anthony's YouTube channel. Fuck, did he actually give me a link? Motherfucker. Didn't give me the link. The Do Not Worry podcast. Yes. Thank you, Sue219, for getting the link. I was like, fuck, I have to look for the link. I will be going on this fundraiser. Raising money for Gaza in 1 hour. Everybody get in there. And wait until I'm on to donate. No, I'm just kidding. You can donate now if you want. But I will be going on the Do Not Worry podcast